I'm gonna call us over there. It doesn't say it here, but I'm gonna call us over there. Okay, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
So you receive this on Monday. This way you know you're here today. And it requires this.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. If we could just be seated. I know we're full. We have a couple of presentations before we get started. So we're going to go ahead and get started with young ladies and gentlemen that are here today. So tonight, please join me and the City Council members in honoring the 2012 Super Readers from the Inglewood Public Library's annual summer reading program, which took place June 18th through August 30th, 2012. This year, over 600 youth ages 0 to 18 participated in the program. The children here this evening are preschool age through 12th grade. The preschool to 6th grade students are being honored for reading 100 books or more. The teens in the 7th and to 12th grade are being honored for reading 50 hours or more. We are proud to congratulate these young people on their wonderful achievements. We have certificates for each of them. As I call your name, please come forward to receive your certificate. Now, I believe someone has the certificates. So it's Montserrat Barrios. Is she here? All right. Grace Brown. Jaden Brown. Nigelo Burton. Amia Champ, Armando Cordova, Rebecca Cordova, Max Lopez, Jalaya Marshall, Julian McClin, Lauren McClin, Eric Montelongo, Enrique Montelongo, Megan Oliva, Naushin Rahman, and Tanya Stokes. Okay, do we have a camera, Ms. Watson? So let's just join him and take a picture.
Thank you. All right, guys, we're gonna do 1, 2, 3. All right, y'all ready? 1, 2, 3.
Read. Why did you guys say read?
Any more? I guess 2 more. Here we go again. 1, 2, 3. Cheese. One more. Here we go. Let's go one more time. We're gonna go one more time.
We'll just wait for them to trickle out.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
while our guests are leaving, I'd like to make a comment very quickly as they're leaving. Is my mic on?
It's just a comment. Go ahead.
It seems to be. I just want to congratulate all the young people who participated in this program. The rewards are lifelong. I want to thank all the parents who assisted their children, made sure they got to the library, because it takes that parental support for the children to develop a love of reading. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, while they're trickling out, I'm going to move on to our next presentation for the evening. We have a proclamation, a city proclamation, calling this month the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I'll be reading it out. Whereas breast cancer is the second most commonly diagnosed form of cancer for women in the United States, and whereas breast cancer touches the lives of Americans from every background and in every community across our nation, and whereas although we have made great strides in combating this devastating illness, more than 200,000 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer this year, and tens of thousands are expected to lose their lives to the disease. And whereas early detection is the key in the fight against breast cancer, and getting recommended screening mammograms can help to detect breast cancer early, and whereas during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we honor those we have lost, lend our strength to those who carry on the fight, and pledge to educate ourselves and our loved ones about this tragic disease. Now, therefore, be it known that the mayor and council members of the city of Inglewood, California, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2012 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Be it further known that the city of Inglewood does hereby stand with mothers, daughters, sisters, aunts, and friends who have been affected by breast cancer, and the city recognizes the ongoing efforts of dedicated advocates, researchers, and healthcare providers who strive each day to defeat this disease. Presented this 9th day of October 2012 and is signed by the mayor and all council members. So we'll be posting that up. And before we get started with public comments, a couple more things. We do want to introduce two of our new directors who have joined our team here in the city of Inglewood. Mr. Fields, can you do that, please?
Yes, thank you, City Council. I would like to introduce first Mr. David Esparza, if you wouldn't mind coming to the podium. Prior to coming to Inglewood, Mr. Esparza was employed by the City of Los Angeles for 6+ years, where he served as the Assistant General Manager of the Community Development Department. In addition, he serves as the Chief Financial Officer for the Los Angeles Housing Authority for 2 years. Mr. Esparza has also worked for the City and County of San Francisco, During his almost 8 years with the County and City of San Francisco, Mr. Esparza held the positions of Assistant Director of Finance, Chief Financial Officer of the San Francisco Housing Authority, and Director of Management, Budget, and Analysis for the San Francisco Public Transportation Department. Mr. Esparza received his Bachelor's of Arts and Master's of Public Administration degrees from San Jose State University, and he has a second Master's of Public Policy degree from the University of California at Berkeley. So if you will join me in welcoming Mr. Esparza to our team, that would be great.
Thank you very much for that introduction. I want to know everybody to know that it's both a privilege and an honor to come and represent the city and the task that we have before us. Hopefully, I am looking to be a major contributor to finding solutions for the situations that we face. And I thank you very much for the very warm welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Welcome. Mr. Fields?
Now I'd like to ask Mr. Louis Atwell to come to the podium. He's our new Public Works Director. Mr. Atwell will join, both Mr. Atwell and Mr. Esparza started on October 1st. Let's see, Mr. Louis Atwell is coming to us after spending 5 years as the Deputy Director of Public Works for the City of Downey, where he was in charge of Utilities and Operations Division. Prior to serving in this capacity, Mr. Atwell spent 10 years in the private sector for a civil engineering firm, eventually rising to the position of Vice President. Before going to the private sector, Mr. Atwell served as a principal civil engineer for the city of for the Las Vegas Valley Water District, where he planned and designed large-scale water systems for the city of Las Vegas. Prior to this, Mr. Atwell worked for the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power as a civil engineering assistant. Mr. Atwell has a Bachelor of Science from Cal Poly Pomona and civil engineering. He is also a registered civil engineer in both California and Nevada. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Atwell.
I'd also like to echo what Mr. Esparza said. I'm looking forward to working with the council and also the residents of the city of Inglewood. This city is now my city. I'll plan on spending more waking hours here than I will in the city that I currently live in. So when I drive these roads, I'll be looking for the issues that we have and also trying to make them better. So thank you very much for the warm welcome.
Thank you and welcome. And we have one more housekeeping item, which is I believe, Mr. City Attorney, we have a subsequent need item.
Yes, Mayor and City Council. There was an item that was brought to our attention subsequent to the posting of the agenda. We'd like to add an item, which is a lease agreement between Madison Square Gardens and the city for the use of their parking lot for the shuttle event that we'll be having on the 13th of October.
Okay, so the first vote will be to declare that it is a subsequent need item, and
I so move.
second. Madam Clerk?
Council members, Stevens.
Well, actually, I'd like to.
Okay, 1 second. Ms. Dunlap?
Yes, considering, obviously, I'll be supporting the subsequent need because it's critical that obviously that this agreement be signed and agreed to by the city. But we have known for months that we were going to be having an event at the Forum for the space shuttle, which is coming down Manchester, and I have no idea why it wasn't planned for with regard to Madison Square Garden, who owns the property. Did we not discuss with them that we were planning on having this event? And I find it very disturbing that the last meeting, just days before a program which will be nationally televised, that we're just now going into an agreement with the owners of the property of which we're planning on having an event. So this is being agendized, as my colleague Mayor Pro Tem Morales stated, as a subsequent need, meaning apparently no one in administration knew of this even at the time of the posting of the agenda on Thursday. So I find that disturbing with regard to the operation of the city. Thank you.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes, I just would like to say that, as Ms. Dunlap stated, 2 months ago I suggested the use of the Forum be a staging area for the space shuttle, and at that time we should have crossed our I's and dotted our T's with the Forum. So the public will know, Mr. Fields, what will be the cost, though, for the for the lease. Is there any cost attached to that?
There's no cost.
There is no cost.
No.
Okay, outstanding. Those are my comments.
Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Stevens,
Aye.
Dunlap,
Aye.
Franklin,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Aye. And,
I now move to have the item agendized, and
We-
we need an agendized number.
right, I will second, and if we could have an agenda item number
It'll be
CM2.
CM2.
Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Stevens,
Aye.
Dunlap,
Aye.
Franklin,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Aye. Okay, and with that, we will have public comments regarding agenda items. Except the public hearing.
Mayor Pro Tem, I would like to, since Councilman Franklin, since we have modified DR1, I would like to pull my
Here.
council initiative
Thank you.
CI1.
Thank you.
Very well.
All right, thank
Okay.
you, Council.
CI1 will be pulled. So, thank you. Thank you, Councilman.
Council members, I would ask that you take a brief recess considering the document was handed to me after you said CM2 III. So can we please have a couple minutes to review the however many pages it is?
Very well.
Thank
We will
you.
take a 5-minute recess. Be back 7:25. Being that the public just received the staff report for the newly agendized items, so we'll be back 7:25. Five minutes is up. Thank you. And we will have public comments regarding agenda items, including, of course, the new additional item.
Good evening, Dr. Benjamin Brazil, and on behalf of item number 4, 12 parking space. Allow us to fill out for a dental practice, 126 Locust. I also like to take time to thank Dean Barrett for his help also. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Anthony Davis. I volunteer with two of the parks that are in consideration on item number 5. The resolution to keep funds out of that you're holding for sportsmen. Now, I've read the staff report, and half of what they claim they have done for Roger Parks, they haven't. In the way of giving them equipment for the fields, in the way of for the bats and the helmets, they haven't. All they have done is totally disabled a field. Tore up the small field that they were supposed to be putting the grass in and making it where it's not at all usable. And we have youth sports that are presently in playing right now, which that is their home field, and we are not able to use it. I also noticed that half of what they're asking for is dated that should have been done way before now on the dates they have on your package. We are going to give them more money. Can we at least get a clarification on dates on when we are going to get the fields made back up so they can be used? Because right now, as you know, we're having a problem with getting usage of a lot of fields in our city for kids' sports. Right now, it's only leaving usable 3 fields totally in the city. Both of the fields at Sentinel, at Everett Vincent, and Rogers, for any age limits to use. Right now, there's too many kids that are in playing sports around here, baseball and everything else, to them to be used down to 3 fields. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Philip Bowers. I'm the owner of BSI Sports Turf Management. I did work over at Mayor? Mayor, want to comment?
Mr. Franklin?
Mr. Bauer, according to our staff report, there's 4 contractors that they have outstanding bills, and that was, and I don't know if you're one of the 4, but if you read the staff report, it does reference that. All right, thank you, Mayor.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Berlinda Fontenot Jamerson. I'm a resident of the City of Inglewood, District 2, and I'm also on the Board of Directors of Ability First. I'm here in support of PH1, item PH1, Economic and Community Development.
The time to speak on that will be when we call this actual item. It'll be coming up pretty soon, the public hearing. Okay? So this won't be the time for you to speak on it.
Oh.
I'll remind you when the time comes. Just hold
Well,
off. Thank you.
How you doing? My name is Derek Brown. I'm the president of Sportsman Little League. At this time, I just wanted to clear up a lot of hearsay that I'm hearing in the community, people calling me back and forth on the fields not being complete, with BSI saying we owe them a balance. We did submit the 4 contractors that we did owe, and BSI fencing, they had 2 contracts. They had one for the completion of the installation of the grass infield and the outfield and the sprinklers, the irrigation. On that payment there, they are 100% paid. We gave them a check for $5,000, another check for $5,000, a check for $3,800, a check for $8,000. Their balance was, their total bill was $10,800. So we actually paid them some extra money for some items they had did. Now we do have a balance with them of $2,900 for the fence that they installed at the field at Darby Park. They gave them a check for $5,000, $6,000, and we owe them $2,900. And we held that money at the time because we wanted to make sure everything was cleared up before we just released the funds. Now they did come in and they faxed us over a bill for a final bill that said $10,500. So if you take the original bid of $10,000 and then you take the bid of the $10,500, that's $20,500. So if we paid them $21,800, they're paid on that fence contract, on the grass contract complete. So they submitted a bid, another final bill of $10,500. So if you go back and do the numbers, we paid them in advance because they didn't have the finances to complete the job. So at the time the grass was installed, then they just walked off the job and didn't complete the work that was supposed to be done prior to the getting paid. But we had paid them in advance because they say they had some financial problems. So as far as BSI, we're 100% paid on them on the grass. I don't have a lot of time. I'm going to move over to the completion of the fields. We need the funds to complete the project. And in order for us to complete Darby Park, complete with the press box, the scoreboard, the foul post, we're going to do some stuff on the grass, and we need those additional funds to do that. As far as Rogers, we started the work. We tore up the fields, dug them out. We were getting ready to trench for the irrigation, and we stopped because we wouldn't have had enough money to complete the whole job.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Willie A.G., and I live in the beautiful city of Inglewood. I'm here tonight to support the agenda item 5. We need to get these parks finished, and I hope, as chair of Park and Recreation, I hope that the council approve this item so that we can go on and get these parks finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Diane Zambrano, and I see that this was really a quick and speedy lease since we still don't have our own address inserted. I would hope that by the time we get to this item and the one preceding it with the Science Center, that someone actually lets the people of this community know what really is happening. There has been news reports that we're not going to be allowed on the sidewalks. Now, how crazy is that? It is our community that has been mutilated, our community that supported it. And yet, that rumor makes it sound like we all ought to have not supported it. As much as I approve the concept of historic science, I would hope that this community figures out that if we cannot control the crowd of, I'm going to call us science and history nerds with pocket protectors, then we have absolutely not a single bit of business doing business with Madison Square Gardens if they're going to bring in rock stars and possibly, let me see, sports guys? Because I think the nerds that do science and history are the ones who actually built that thing, that changed our entire universe, that gave us the privileges of GPS, microwave ovens, Corel livingware, the aerospace industry, and all of the satellite technology. And if anyone believes that we would have so little respect for that, then we should not ever again, in my opinion, ever again, have any parade, because that would be even more of a threat to our own safety, wouldn't it? So if you approve this, which I hope you make the mitigation needs that you do, that every one of the members of this community can attend and watch not only at the forum, but all along the streets where they have been impacted. You see, I could do a really not so nice discussion on the concept of, you want me to go there? The dead spacecraft traveling down the death of Market Street, the school district, at the dead forum and looking across the dead bodies. Maybe we should make this a positive experience by allowing the residents to actually enjoy and appreciate the work of all those space technology folks that have gone before us. And absent that, it would be very distressing.
Good afternoon, Council Pro Temp Mayor Ethel Austin, District 2. I want to say on the agenda item 5 with the Park and Rec, this guy just walked up about his money. Now, before when you all voted to release this money so they could work on Darby Park, you know who you released this money to. You know that money is gone. So please, please, I'm begging you all, you already know where that money is. It's going to be something else to get that money for these workers. So please do not issue the money to the same board that you issued it to the first time. So these people could get paid. When you work, you want your money. When y'all work, you want your money. So please don't do it again, because you know it will not get to the workers. You already know what's going on. I don't even have to say anything. And for us, the Endeavor, I was wondering who was in charge of that. And I did mention about how to load and the weight and all of this. And I wanted to know the height, because the street lights is a lot to this Endeavor. Now, I won't be there because I don't know what's on the machine. I mean, they've been in space. I won't be there. It ain't no dust on me. I mean, you know, it's up to y'all, because I don't care if I never look at it. I'm just saying, that thing been in space. So, you know, to me, it was handled improperly. I think the mayor sat down with MSG without our knowledge. I knew it was going to the forum way before. I already knew. I knew 2 weeks ago that it wasn't going to stop here. So I'm going to fault Mayor Butts. He was in charge of this Endeavor. He's in charge of the taxpayers that ruin in our city. Now we got 8 hours that Endeavor is going to set on Los Angeles, Manchester, by that donut place. And don't believe that man. He got money. Don't believe everything you hear on TV, news lies. He got paid for that. But we're going to just chalk it down to the taxpayers as to our mayor sitting with MSG 2 weeks ago. And it wasn't mentioned. But this was already planned. So in the future, I want everybody to look and remember, watch, and what goes on at this city hall, not because you need these council members. Watch what goes on and keep coming to these meetings. This is election time. And breast awareness is pink. Don't come here next week without some pink on.
No applause.
My name is Alfonso Parker. I'm a Vietnam vet, and I got my personal problem. I'm not here for that. When I say personal, that's all veterans, not only Vietnam. Not here for that right now, later on. This shuttle coming down here, they knew good and well I know how to plan stuff, okay? That's my job, research and development. They knew long ago when they planned this. They flew over it. They figured out the best way to do it. They bought a rock from God knows where, didn't have a problem. It's coming through the black neighborhoods now. It's going to bring out people, going to buy stuff up and down Manchester and God knows where else. And all of a sudden at the last minute, we can't be out there to see it. But it's going to tear up our neighborhood to get it there. They could have went other ways. This has been in the plan a long time, and they knew it. They just didn't tell you at the last minute that you weren't going to be able to get up close and personal. A lot of folks, not like her, would like to get up and personal because they're not as scared as she is. You understand where I'm coming from? They knew, that mayor knew at the last minute, so did Varagos and the rest of them, knew that at the last minute, people was not going to get out there on the sidewalk. First of all, the wingspan is not going to get on the sidewalk. It goes almost to the sidewalk. It was in the paper, the dynamics of what it is up and down. And if you measure across the street, across, especially where I live, right here between Cedar and the freeway and Inglewood Avenue, the wingspan, it won't get to the sidewalk. It get up on it. That's why they're going to lay the lamp posts down. They're not going to move. They're just going to lay them down. They got enough wire, lay them down, and then they're going to put them back up. And you can get on the sidewalk because what they do, I read in the paper, they're going to shut it down a mile behind and a mile up front. They're not going to shut it all the way down. At least that's the understanding I got. They're not going to shut it all the way down flat out. As it travels, they're going to shut it down a mile behind and a mile ahead. That means as soon as it passes a mile from behind it, they're going to put them posts back up as they go.
Sir, you need to address the council.
Oh, okay. All right, well, see, I'm a minister's son and a missionary's daughter, and I've been dealing with politics and religion. Our church people go to church. Our churches need to get on top of it. We need to go back to church because that's where we always got a message, not from these politicians. Putting in big thing. Did y'all just, by the way, I know it's not, did y'all discuss in your last meeting that this man got a thing to shut y'all off in the last 5 in your personal meeting? Did you discuss it? Who the devil is he to put a button in? And then gonna come to the public meeting and gonna dictate, yeah, I know, you don't want to hear it. I got a lot to say.
Hi, my name is Halima Ginyard. Good evening, I should say. I'm here with Sportsman Little League, and I'm the treasurer, and we operate with integrity. Every dime has been accounted for. It's made public record to whomever wants to see it. Every dime went to a contractor. There hasn't been anybody or any magical person that's gotten a dime. The way we operate is a contractor submits their invoice and they're paid. Every dime has been accounted for. We operate with integrity. We submit any bills or anything that Sabrina wants, we submit to her at any time. We're just open. I have a book that I keep with every council check, every invoice, everything. And I've kept it since the beginning of the project. And every time we come up, every dime is accounted for. There's not even a penny missing. And there hasn't been any outside person that has gotten a dime or has benefited in any way. And I can honestly say that. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, and Inglewood City staff, Ray Davis, 2nd District. I wanted to speak on item number 8, Public Works. Looks like things are starting to roll on our lining project to get our sewage and water pipes back up to snuff. I'll be honest with you, $266,747. That seems not like not a lot of money, but maybe you'll give me some feedback on just how much we're going to get for that 266 grand and change, and maybe you can give us some feedback also on how long do you think the project will take, and how much will it cost. It doesn't have to happen tonight, just something to put on your mind. And the other thing is that, yeah, the space shuttle. I hope you guys can clarify matters, because right now I'm in the dumps. I mean, I've taken off from work already. I told my employers I'm not showing up Saturday, right? And now I'm told that I may not even be able to get near the thing. Like, it's suddenly top secret or something. Well, why? I don't think people are gonna try to bum rush the machine or anything of that nature, and and have police around. You nightsticks upside the head if you get stupid. That'll cure the problem. I mean, there is law and order in this town, right? And once we get it out of town, it becomes the city of Los Angeles' responsibility. But I'm sure the council and the mayor pro tem will give us the necessary feedback, because I'm going to shave extra clothes and put up one of my nice suits so I can come out and pay my respects. And I don't want this to seem like, as Sombrano mentioned earlier, like this is a funeral march. No, this is to inspire people, because we've got to keep moving forward with space exploration. Just my naive opinion, we've got 7 billion people on this planet now. We're going to have 10 billion in 20 years. It's time for somebody to figure out a way for somebody to leave. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, staff. Council. Lynette Lewis, 4th District. I'm going to speak on item number 3 and 5. On the human resources, I think we should adopt that resolution. I think we should have be up to date in terms of our drug testing and whatever is here in the city of Inglewood, and I think that we should start sometimes with the staff and see where it is. We should start doing some drug testing in terms of hiring and whatever when we get people here. But on item number 5, we knew that $75,000 when they took that money from the park, from the Little League, when they tore up that park, that those people were going to need that money to refurbish that Little League park. And I don't know why she has to come here and ask for that money again, because that money was allocated to do that park and whatever, to put those children and give it back to the Little League, because we took it away from them. And that was the money that was given by, what was that, the Watts Home, for those, for payment of what they took for them. So release that money and let those people get ahead and finish these parks for these children. Our children are out on the street right now, and they need places to go to play and what have you. So give them their $75,000, please.
Thank you, Ms. Willis. Closing public comments. Item 1, CSA 1 and H1.
Move allow payment of the bills.
Second. Madam City Clerk.
Councilmember Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
No.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Aye. Madam Clerk, what is the next scheduled matter?
The next scheduled matter is a public hearing to consider a proposed amendment to Chapter 12 of the Inglewood Municipal Code to modify regulations by adding adult daycare, subject to special use permit approval, and modify the R1 zone to permit accessory enclosed parking.
Has notice of this hearing been given in the time, form, and manner as required by law, and do you have the affidavit on file?
Notice has been given, and affidavit is on file.
Is the complete file of the Planning Commission present?
Yes.
Have any communications been received on this matter?
No communications have been received.
Okay. Is there a staff report on this matter?
Yes, there is. Ms. Linda Tatum, Acting Community and Economic Development Director, will give the presentation.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council. This item is a staff-initiated request for consideration of Zoning Code Amendment 2012-05 to amend the city zoning code to add adult daycare as a permitted use in the R3 zone, subject to the approval of a special use permit. Also, to add accessory unenclosed parking as a permitted use in the R1 zone. In the way of a background, this request is a follow-up to the City Council's consideration of a zone change request made by Ability First, zone change number 129, to rezone a property at 8090 South Crenshaw Boulevard from R1 to R3 to allow the rehabilitation of their existing operation at that location. Due to the split zoning of the property and the non-conforming status of the adult daycare, they came in, they requested a zone change to bring the property into zoning compliance and also to allow the rehabilitation. City Council did not approve the zone change request and asked that staff work with the applicant and come back with a different means of accomplishing the rehabilitation without changing the zone. This amendment that is being proposed tonight for your consideration accomplishes that objective, but it does not go forward with a zone change on the R1 portion of the property. On September 5th, the Planning Commission adopted a resolution, number 1657, recommending that the City Council adopt an ordinance approving these zoning code amendments. If approved, the amendment would make two changes to the code. It would allow adult daycare in the R1 zone, subject to the approval of a special use permit, but it would also allow surface parking for an accessory use or accessory unenclosed parking on the R1 zone. In considering the options to accomplish the objective to allow Ability First to go forward, staff considered some of the key effects of this potential zone change to the zone code. And we essentially wanted to limit the applicability of this code change so that it accomplished the council's direction in terms of allowing Ability First to go forward without affecting a substantial number of other properties in the community. So with that, we again have come forward with this request to amend the code to allow the daycare with an approved SUP and to allow the unenclosed accessory parking on the R1 zone portion of a property with a split zoning, which is what exists at Ability First. This will not result, the proposed change to the code would not result in any impacts to the residents. We feel that the request to allow adult daycare with an SUP is similar to the current code condition, which allows child daycare or nursery school uses in the R1 zone with an SUP. The proposed amendment is consistent with the city's general plan land use designation, and the staff has prepared a negative declaration for this action in compliance with CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act. In conclusion, staff recommends that the City Council support the Planning Commission recommendation to adopt negative declaration number 2012-48 and approve the requested zoning code amendment by introducing an ordinance for its adoption. This concludes staff's presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Tatum. Are there any persons present who wish to address the council on this matter? Ma'am, this is the time. Please.
Hi, as stated earlier, my name is Berlinda Fontenot Jamerson. I am a resident and homeowner in the city of Inglewood. I'm also on the board of directors of Ability First, and I just want to support PH1, and I just want to share that, offer my support for this project. I think it's, on many levels, it is very beneficial to the city of Inglewood as well as to local residents, those who would utilize the services of the organization.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Furby. I'm a parent of an adult who has been using the Ability First Harry A. Meyer Center at 8090 Crenshaw. He's 38 years old now, mentally handicapped. He has been going to that center for first after school programs and now after work program since he was 9 years old. So that is 29 years. And all of that time I have been an active parent volunteer on the parent advisory board and then the advisory council for the center. And presently I'm a part of the task force, which is urging that everything be done possible to build a new center there. For all the years that my son has been at the center, and I've known many, many other young people who have gone through the programs at the center, we have known that it's an inadequate facility. The staff has been wonderful, the programs have been wonderful, but it is not equipped and built for serving all physically and mentally challenged children and young people. And so a new center is very much needed. And I'm here definitely supporting the approval of PH1.
Good evening. My name is Hattie Bell. I'm a resident of Inglewood. I'm a mother of a special needs student. I'm also an employee of Ability First. I'm here tonight to speak to you as a mother. I know many people that call who have special needs children, but they don't have a place for those children to go for after school. I know you say you may have after school programs, but how many do you have for after school? Harry Meyer Center is the place where a child can come and have a safe haven. We're not asking for money. We're not asking for land. We're just asking you to look in your heart and say, if I had a special need person, whether it's a child or a grandmother, would I want them to have the best? I'm sure your answer would be yes. So we're asking you to look into your heart and say, yes, I will provide a place for those people to attend. I will provide, I will make sure that they can have a parking lot where they don't have to walk miles to get to. So at the center, we have a saying, I can and I will. So we're asking you to look at your fellow councilmen and say, I can make a difference and I will make a difference. Thank you.
There we go. My name is Sean Hicks. I'm an Inglewood resident. I'm here to support Ability First. Before the summer, I was actually unemployed, looking for work. I'm a lifeguard. And Ability First gave me the opportunity. At first, like, everybody's having hard, times is hard right now, especially financially. I was just like, okay, I'll get to work again. But it didn't hit me until when I really started working with the children and adult special needs. After that, it's just a whole, another amazing feeling. And I'm honestly thinking about continuing pursuing the field, going back to school. And I really hope that everyone here please support what's going on because, I mean, it's just, it's a whole different world for me, and I love every day working there. All right, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lynn, and I'm a parent of a special needs child. And I'm here in support of the Ability First and Harry Meyer Foundation. Want to tell you guys, I'm going to use my 3 minutes to tell you guys a quick story. In 2008, I took off from a job 2 months to give birth to my daughter. After I gave birth, the job that I was at for 10 years, the owner of the company committed suicide. And I was left out of a job. The economy, made him do what he needed to do. My son was devastated. We've been there for 10 years. We were like family. Out of a job for 6 months, something came up. I was hired by the city of Hawthorne, the Workforce Investment Board. I'm there now. The Harry Meyer Foundation has provided a home for my son after school. So from 3 to 6 p.m., my son goes there. He has found responsibility there. His communication skills has improved. Social skills has improved. It's a place where he needs to go there. It's very necessary. I just think that places and programs like these are vital to, our children, our special needs children. I don't know if any of you have special needs kids, but it's a lot that comes with that. I was a single parent up until Chris was 14, and now I have my daughter, I have my husband, and we're trying to make it where we are Inglewood residents. And this is my first council meeting, so I didn't know what to expect. But now I have more of an open vision as to what goes on, and we'll be attending more of these meetings. But I urge you, please vote to have the zoning redone and support this renovation of the foundation, because it's very important. Without this, where is my son going to go after school? He's 18 now, and he's doing really well, thanks to the Ability First team and everybody that helps him there. So thank you guys, and again, I urge you to please, vote on this thing. Thank you.
Members, my name is Hattie Walker. Parent, my daughter, Leah Walker, has been at the Harry Myers Center for 10 years. It's very hard when you have a disabled child to find a child. And they have been loving and caring and supportive of my daughter, social skills, so she actually knows how to go out and socialize, in support of the center, and I hope you are supportive.
F. Austin again on this PH1 on the Bill of Fire first. I came up here, I think, one day, and I asked you all was it any other adult living center in Inglewood, and I think the mayor said no. Well, it is one. It's one where Joshua was on Manchester to the right, but it's not big enough. A Bill of Fire first. I don't know why it came back to you all, to the council. But as you know, Mayor Pro Tem, you know how these kids are being born now with the drugs, and I have a nephew like that that needs special care. Now, the negative part they did mention the negative part was the homes, I think. They didn't want to disturb the people when they dropping off the kids or picking them up, and they did do something about that. So now it's about the negativity. It's about the approval, for the council to approve. I know you have the agenda, but we really need this, because the other one is small. And I think by them going to adult, we all getting old. No one knows what's going to happen. No one knows. And I think, council, that putting them through all these changes is just too much. When you know we might be the ones that need it, your parents, you never know. But they are truthful people. They've been here for years and years and years and years. They could have sold this property years ago and left us here hanging, because this ain't the best city. It wasn't ran right. For years it hadn't been ran right, and they stuck around. So we have to think about that, Mayor. Okay? And let's just stop messing with them and get them approved. As long as they're not disturbing the neighbors, I think it should be approved.
Thank you, Ms. Austin.
My name is Willie A.G. My comments is, Harry Myers has been in this city for many, many years. And I am really embarrassed about what they had to go through with in order to do something for these kids that they've helped so many years. I don't think it was necessary to put these people through the pain, and that's exactly what they've been going through, pain. Had it been me, I'd have closed the doors and left. You know, it's not necessary. And I know the reason why. My opinion is political, and I hope that the council that caused this, I hope he's defeated in the next election.
Good afternoon. I'm George Dotson, Chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I just wanted to comment on PH1. We understand about the zone change, so we went back and worked on it. Planning department worked very hard. A lot of research went into this, and we came up with this particular solution. And I think this will work. It will please everybody. It will please the council. It will please the Harry Meyer Center, and it will please the people who live in that area. So the way the project has been designed, they won't disturb the neighborhood. It won't be any negative effect to them. And this zone cannot be used for any negative use. Anything that comes before us again, anything that comes like this again, still has to come before the Planning Commission. And then it'll have to come back to the council. So in other words, it won't be an automatic. So thank you very much, and I hope you will support it. A lot of work went into this, a lot of research by the planning department. I want to comment and give them their kudos because they really worked on this project. So please, council, do your job and let this go through. Thank you very much.
Close public comments to my colleagues here. Councilman?
Yes, public, yes, I am the councilman that was responsible for this coming back before the body, Mr. A.G. And I just want to clarify some things. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not believe that anyone here is opposed to Ability First. The issue was that the property, as it came originally from the Planning Commission, was that it was to be rezoned R3, which would have allowed up to 75 units to be built on that site. And the issue was, for myself as well as the residents in the area, was that if in fact property was ever sold to a developer, that is exactly what could happen. Now, what did happen was that this body looked at, researched the facts, and then referred it over to our staff, Ms. Tatum, and staff was assigned by council the duty to research and figure out a way in which the Harry Meyer Foundation could in fact operate. That was what actually happened here. Now, I just want to say to you and to the residents who live in the area is that the way this is written now and drafted now by our staff, the staff of Inglewood that you pay, the way that it is written now, there shall not be any type of multi-family unit, dwelling unit built there as a result of this. It's not going to happen. And so the reality is that no one here was against Harry Meyer. You should not have had to come before council because before it left the Planning Commission, this should have all been worked out. But once again, the city council body that is sitting here, in fact, assigned staff, Ms. Tatum and her team, to rework this and redraft this with the legal department so that, in fact, there would not be anywhere from 65 to 75 units be built on that property if, in fact, Harry Meyer was ever to sell that property. And that was, in fact, the real issue, the only issue regarding that property. And so with that, colleagues, this project is in my district. For those of you that don't know where it's at Crenshaw and 81st, I believe it is. 80,
That's, thank you.
8090 Crenshaw? Yes. Well, that's 80th Street between 80th and 81st, okay. And Crenshaw, so it's right there. It's been there for years. So that was the main issue. And so with that, colleagues, I'm going to conclude on that. But I thank you for your support in the past, and I support this item at this point, the way the staff has drafted it. So I would like to move that that we approve this.
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
And I would like to make a remark as
Sure.
well. Yes, I do believe there was a mischaracterization from the public microphone. This is actually one of those times where this body has thoroughly discussed an item of great interest and concern for the community. Harry Myers is very high on all of our list with regard to this city. I've been a supporter for all of my years on the city council. I've attended events there. I helped them get their swimming pool, 10, 15 years ago? It was a long time ago. It's just you're a community asset. I mean, we're proud that you are there. But the fact that we're able to work together with staff, this body, working together as a team to make sure all the kinks are taken out. It's not about just making one group happy. It's about making everyone happy so it's a win-win. Now the neighbors are content that it's going to be built as they would like it to be built because they are the neighbors. Harry Meyer, administration, The volunteers, the families are happy because it's what they need to continue their program, and that was most critical to this body, to make sure things were written so that you could continue your program in the way you want to run your program and to serve your clients, which we've heard here this evening. Families can have a child or an adult with special needs and be there for 20, 30 years, to be there and benefit every day of their life that they are there. It's very important to us in the city, very important to the city council. So the fact that it took some extra time to get it done right, it's done right, and we should all be proud of that fact. So I certainly support it, and I think everyone should be gratified. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Franklin?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. First of all, let me say thank you, staff, and also the Planning Commission for your due diligence of hearing the concerns not only of the residents surrounding the Harry Meyer Center, but also the will of the council and to move forward on this Ability First Harry Meyer's project. I'm simply partial to Harry Meyer's because I am also a parent by a conservator guardian of my sister who requires special needs. And so I have the passion when I go there on a regular basis, and I can relate to the parents of their love that they have for their children, and knowing that this is a location where they can in fact have a place of safety, working with their peers and people that are skilled set and have the endurance to be able to relate to children and adults, because my sister is now 59 and it still requires the special needs and care. And so knowing that, one, that we're able to move this project forward post haste so that we can in fact meet the deadline that has been required, and then also hearing that my colleagues collectively now are all on board, it's a breath of fresh air, and I can't wait to have the shovels digging into the soil and that two-story house coming down, which has been a challenge for the children and adults that require the special needs couldn't get there. And I think it's a win-win tonight. And I just thank my colleagues and staff and the commission and everyone else for their due diligence and patience and are ready to move forward. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And I would just like to add, of course, that staff did a lot of work here, and sometimes it does take a little longer. We have seen this issue here on the dais, as Councilman Stevens and Ms. Dunlap stated, a few different times, and it has been through working out some of the issues and create this win-win situation. I just want to point out that I really appreciate the parents of the children who came out and really shared their stories. You know, a lot of times it's easier to connect to the issues, and it makes me very proud that we have such a first-class facility here, but more importantly, just first-class families. So with that, Ms. Horton.
I have a motion for approving the negative declaration, and the roll call, Councilman Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Aye.
And
I'll wait for the reading.
Second.
Councilman Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
I'd like to introduce the ordinance.
Sure. Mr. Stevens, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we will move on to consent calendar. These items will be acted upon as a whole unless called upon by a council member.
Move items 2 through 9.
Second, pulling item 5, please.
And number 8.
Number 8.
Madam,
Do we need a copy?
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
You're pulling item 5?
Yes.
Outstanding.
And I didn't hear Councilwoman
5 and 8.
5 and 8.
5 and 8. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Aye. Item 5.
Staff report recommending adopting a resolution authorizing the transfer of $75,000 being held in trust by the city to the Sportsman League, Little League.
Move adoption.
Well, before we move for adoption.
Yeah. Would you like a staff report? Because that's what I was going to ask for.
Well, I'd like to have a staff report. Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Sabrina Barnes, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Library Services. The item before you asks that you adopt a resolution approving the transfer of $75,000 that's being held in trust for Sportsman Little League. Sportsman Little League is a nonprofit organization that provides baseball and softball opportunities for Inglewood youth. Getty Field was a privately owned sports field that Sportsman Little League, along with the Boy Scouts, used to use prior to the development of the Renaissance Project. When that project was developed, Watts Developers, the company associated with the project, set aside funds for both the Boy Scouts and Sportsman Little League. Specifically, Sportsman Little League received $200,000 for the construction of a new Little League field, and that was meant to mitigate the fact that they would lose the Getty Field. That money was then put in a trust and was to be held by the city of Inglewood. On June 7, 2011, the mayor and council members approved a memorandum of understanding between the city and Sportsman and approved the transfer of $45,000. Then on November 8th of 2011, the mayor and council members approved an amendment to that agreement and authorized an additional transfer of $75,000. Per the terms of the agreement, Sportsman Little League committed to installing a grass infield at Darby Park and improving the second field on that site. They also committed to installing a grass infield at Rogers Park and improving the second field at that site, and then doing field improvements to the two fields at Edward Vincent Park. The council members in the second amendment also asked them to add a concession stand as well as a scorer's booth. The following work has been completed at Darby Park, and I do want to speak into record a correction. At Darby Park, they've removed the existing field grass, weeds, debris. They've done grading, tilling, soil amendments, installation of new fencing, topping, concrete work, installed the grass fill, a warning track. And this is a mild version of what's been done there. At Darby Park on the second field, they've installed a new irrigation system and plumbing there, as well as soil amendments and conditioners to the field. I would like to correct, it was a cut and paste error under Rogers Park. They did start work, as Mr. Brown noted previously. What they have done there is they've done some fence repair work, they've done some soil conditioning and amendments, and they've purchased helmets and bat racks. They have not actually installed the irrigation system and plumbing. They did recently commence work there. They commenced that work under the thought, per my understanding and speaking with them, that they would just simply be able to ask the city for the money and we would be able to issue a check to them, as opposed to the item having to come before council. With having to come before council, we then, I requested they provide whatever invoices they had so we can speak to the fact that they have been spending money towards the project. Sportsman Little League expenses to date, the report reports $103,738. I did share with the Sportsman representatives that I did not have all the receipts. They've committed to providing additional ones, but I do have an additional $4,500 and some change worth of receipts. So actually the total spent to them by them to date is $108,372.67. On August 30th, representatives from Sportsman met with city staff to discuss the remaining scope of work and to let us know that they would not be able to complete the project without getting additional funding. Specifically, they requested an additional $75,000 to complete the remaining work. The city is currently holding $100,772.17, which includes accrued interest. So although Watt Developer committed $200,000 to them, over the course of the time we've been holding the money, it has accrued $20,772.17. There is still work to be completed. They've outlined what's left to do. There's work at Rogers Park. They have initiated work. They've dug up some things, but they still have to install a grass infield there, do the excavating, grading, tilling, addition of soil amendments, irrigation systems, sod, pitchers, mounds. And at Darby Park, they have to purchase and install the scorer's board, flag posts, construct the scorer's booth, mounds, bullpens, grading, tilling of the second field, soil conditioners, and a mound and scoreboard at the second field as well. At Vincent Park, they are simply doing improvements there. They will be grading, tilling, adding soil conditioners, and installing an irrigation system. Those repairs total $57,375. They've requested $75,000 tonight. That difference is taken up by monies where they intend to pay outstanding balances to 4 vendors in the amount of $12,668, as well as have some funds remaining to do field maintenance and purchase various materials related to maintaining the fields. Funds totaling $120,000 have been transferred thus far. We are currently holding $100,772.17. Sportsman Little League has requested that we transfer them tonight $75,000. They have committed that with that money they will be able to complete the improvements. However, I must note that if they don't receive any monies, they have also indicated that they will not be able to complete the remaining repairs. I will entertain any questions that you may have regarding this.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes, Darby Park is in my district, as well as also Edward Vincent Park, but they'll also be completing work over in Rogers Park also, correct?
That is correct.
Well, you know, I'm a firm believer that what affects one part of Inglewood affects all of Inglewood. And I would just like to ask my colleagues if we could possibly hold this item over, and I would like to set up a meeting with the contractors who spoke here earlier, as well as also Sportsman's Little League, and Mayor Pro Tem, I believe Rogers Park is in your district. Perhaps you would like to join me at that meeting, and we could perhaps have a impromptu, so to speak, audit, just to see just exactly what's what and see where we are.
I don't have a problem joining you at that meeting. As a matter of fact, I encourage it just so that we can clarify and the public can know what exactly the issues are. However, I would appreciate if we move this item forward. I have spoken to a variety of Little Leagues now that currently are in kind of a very desperate situation to start some of their tournaments, and I would like to see the work start. But I will accept your invitation to that meeting and actually would encourage it as long as we can move forward tonight.
Well, my main concern is that if, with all due respect, if we were in fact to release these funds, Ms. Barnes, after the $75,000, is there any money left?
Yes, sir, and excuse me for not sharing that with you. There will be remaining, that the city will be holding $25,772.17 that will still be left here with the city until they draw it down.
Sounds like they're extremely over budget. 25, from what I have observed at Darby Park, there's a great amount of work that still is to be done there. And in addition to that, we have issues at Edward Vincent Park. I'm afraid that if we release this $75,000, only $25,000 left, we may not have enough money to complete the work at Rogers Park, as well as also the work at Edward Vincent Park. I do not see how $25,000 can virtually duplicate, because that's basically what they would be doing, just about, is duplicate the amount of work that they did at Darby, at Rogers, and then also improve the fields at Edward Vincent with $25,000. I just don't see how that can happen. So, with all due respect, Mayor Pro Tem, I would really, before we release this money, would just wish that we would simply speak with the contractor, speak with Sportsman's Little League, get a clear understanding of just exactly where we are. And I respect that you have, in fact, spoken with individuals. I recognize that, but I would just like to see us, I would just like to have a little more information in regards to this issue myself. And I'll conclude with that.
Thank you. Ms. Dunn?
Oh, yes, I actually have a question for Ms. Barnes. When did this start?
This project actually started summer of 2011.
Okay, summer of 2011, so it's been over a year and a few months. Well, that's unacceptable to me that it would take that long for the project, because one would have assumed it would have been done within 60 days. That would have been a reasonable time frame. I'm also concerned when we have subcontractors coming on several occasions. We had a gentleman here tonight, but we've had, I'm not sure if it was him or other subcontractors who've come in the past to speak about the same thing. And they actually thought we owed them the money, I mean, because it's our park. I don't think they would be, considering it's been, 15 months, 16 months or something of that, or longer, that this has been ongoing. I don't think holding it over 1 week would hurt anything. And I think it's just for the clarity with regard to the work that's being done. I mean, I don't understand why they would trench at Rogers and leave it like that without knowing they had money to finish it in an unsafe condition that people can't even be on it. We as a city would not have done that because it's a liability. So I'm greatly concerned that we are allowing work to be done and yet putting the city at a risk factor. So I'm concerned about that. I don't think 1 week would hurt. Councilman, Mayor Pro Tem, if you would consider we'll just put the same item on next week, but just have a chance to meet with the subcontractors during this week. I know this is a busy week with the shuttle, but maybe on Monday, as long as it's before the meeting, to take care of this, to make sure that everybody's being paid for work that they performed, and to make sure that all the work that we expect to be done is going to be completed as the commitment has been. And with regard to the documents they provided to us, you mentioned receipts. I'm not sure if these receipts are actually invoices and if they are attached with canceled checks front and back, but I think that would be a requirement that should take place at the meeting. I know they provided documents to you, so maybe they can just go back and sort of collate what they've already presented to make sure the receipts and invoices are attached with the front and back of canceled checks for those services rendered. Sportsman's Little League, I'm very supportive. My father's a former past president of Sportsman's Little League. My brother played in that league many, many, many years ago. So actually prior to them moving to that particular, to Getty Field in that area, when they actually used to play where St. Mary's Academy is today, for those of you who've been around Inglewood for a long, long time. So I just, it is money that we are the stewards of these funds. So I just think it wouldn't hurt for just 1 week, considering this long time frame. And I would hope that we are given a commitment with regard to the time frame the rest of the work will be completed. They need to be held accountable for getting it accomplished. And so I would ask Mayor Pro Tem if you would just have this held over just 1 week, put it back on the agenda as it is, but just do this little basic, the meeting to make sure that everything is represented properly and that the people who are not being paid are going to be paid, because even that was left kind of a gray area here, whether or not they're in the staff report, not in the staff report. So I just think it's incumbent upon us as the stewards of these funds, which are under the city of Inglewood, that we just hold it off for just 1 week.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and my colleagues. I have a different twist. I'm concerned of us interfering with a Sportsman's Little League business and operation. The city made a commitment when we had the transition of development, which became the Watts development back in 2003, that we would in fact work on the development of the housing project. We had no dialogue with the Watts development of any kind of in-kind gift that was made available to Sportsman's Little League and or the Boy Scouts of America. The Watts development agreed with the Boy Scouts of America of getting $75,000 with the compound interest as of up to 2006 was over $83,000, of which they received their money in one lump check, but it was in the form of an endowment because we wanted to find out what they were going to do with that. So that way the Scouts and those that are in the what is called the Thunderbird District of the Los Angeles Area Council can make it available infinitum for the boys and scouters to be able to go to different outings and camping events. Now, when it came to Sportsman's Little League, the $200,000, it was simply a city was holding it, and we specifically identified that it was an account that was identified for them to draw down on. Now, they've drawn down on it twice, the 45,000 and then the 75,000 of their money. And they've simply identified that they're looking to improve our property. The real goal was that 200,000 was for them to get their own ball field and their own maintenance of the field, and that fell through. Now they're looking, since they're using city property, they're looking to maintain the city property, and that they started projects and leaving us exposed to liability, and that it's a matter of dispensing these requested $75,000 of their money to move forward on a project that has now been detrimental to the public, of which they need to move forward on getting the projects done, and the residents of the community says we need to get started on doing our children's events on the park. The inquiry or concern was raised about, well, you still got $25,000 left. That's great. because that means you have more money accessible if there's any discretionary funding that is needed to complete additional projects. But it's great to know that here we had funding that we are not using for the city, but are using by residents of the community for improvements of city properties. And I think this is an opportunity for us to move forward. I'm really concerned of what kind of legal obligations that may be binding if, in fact, they have contractual agreements with these developers to improve city property, and delaying it may jeopardize or expose the city to liability in that regard. So I'd much rather, unless I hear otherwise from the city attorney, would like to move forward on this evening to make sure they get their money. The contractors, there's 4 of them they identified. You heard the treasurer mention earlier that they can count for every receipt, because I raised the issue earlier with staff regarding the $11,614.86 of expenditures that receipts have not been presented to Ms. Barnes, but I've heard then from the treasurer's presentation that that will be made available as well. But we're simply dispensing the funds, and we're holding it, and they're getting the interest for it while we're doing it. And right now, it's a liability for us to continue to hold that money, and I move that we should go ahead and move forward tonight. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, I would just like to respectfully suggest that at this time, we do not have any support for this item. I would just suggest that we just simply hold it over.
Well, we'll get to that, Councilman.
All right.
I would like to comment, and I would like to say that I do know that Councilman Stevens has probably been equally active on this particular issue. I can tell you that I have been strongly pursuing this issue with both Ms. Barnes and Mr. Fields for quite some time, both in actively making sure that this project continues as planned, as well as trying to keep its timeliness. The last time that this particular subcontractor came in and claimed that he wasn't paid, I did get with Mr. Fields immediately following that day. He requested all of the receipts that were given out at the time. Everything was accounted for, and we were comfortable at that time to give the second release. Now, I know Sportsman Little League is here, and this is one of those situations where the best thing to say is, help us help you. Because, quite frankly, I have not been satisfied with the timeliness of the projects. I've made that clear on several occasions, and the public just deserves more. There are kids that are waiting to play baseball, which is our concern. Now, I also understand that we were holding these funds in trust, and there are certain obligations that we have with those funds, and certain rights that we do have and certain rights that we do not have. At this point, it's a project that we've gone into a memorandum of understanding along with the Sportsman Little League, that we must keep our end of the bargain and they must keep theirs. This makes it extremely difficult when it comes to a situation like this, where we would like to have everything clarified. And I would actually encourage, and we probably should have done it beforehand, because I recognize the concerns of my colleagues to say, hey, there's a subcontractor saying that they're not getting paid, and it's a reflection on us as a city. And that's absolutely true. I went ahead and did sit down. They haven't had the opportunity to do so, so I understand that. I do agree with the fact that we need to move forward with these projects. But at this point, of course, I did hear my colleague, Mr. Stevens, saying that there wasn't the accurate support for that. And the bottom line is that I do second Councilman Franklin's motion. If this item does not pass, then at this point I would ask the city attorney what would keep it from coming back the following week. Mr. Sanders.
Well, I'm sure the city manager will bring it back next week if you request it.
Well, my request, I've made a second. I understand my colleagues. We still have to vote on it.
Well, actually, may I comment?
Yeah.
Well, actually, there's only four of it. There's only 4 of us here, and if 2 people say they don't support it this evening until some more additional information comes, and please bring it back next week, I think that speaks for itself. So I would respectfully request for this meeting to just move forward and have this item brought back next week.
Yeah, And for the record, I did second the motion. I wanted that to be clear. But I do encourage both of my colleagues that have said they do not support it, so there's really no way to move this item forward at this time, that they sit down and they clarify the issues both with you and Mr. Fields. And I really encourage our staff to really focus on those questions, because they have the same questions I had the first time. And not only that, but they want to feel clarified in the terms of the timeline. We all do. So I really do encourage, and I know, Ms. Barnes, I thank you for taking all of my phone calls. I'm sure you're tired of that by now in terms of this particular issue. But at this point, I would ask that the item be brought back next week and in the same format. But my colleagues, I would hope that we are encouraged to move the item next week.
Yes, and by the way,
thank you.
Councilman Morales, since you've already had informal discussions outside of the meeting, there's only one other council person can engage in this discussion to reach a consensus. So whichever one that is, it can't be two more.
Oh, I understand. Yeah, thank you for the clarification. I would actually encourage it be Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So, okay, and so thank you for clarifying that, Mr. Sanders. But at that point, he's still allowed to do so, correct? Yes. Okay. So we'll move forward, and
But
we'll see this item next week.
But you have a motion on the floor, so you want to take the motion back, or you want to keep it remaining? Because if you want to keep it
Councilman
remaining,
Franklin.
you have to vote.
I'll withdraw my motion because
Okay.
of lack of the majority.
Okay,
And I'll withdraw the second.
gotcha.
And we'll see the item next week, Mr. Fields. Item 8.
Staff report recommending award of a contract for the sewer lining project Phase 1 per bid number CB 1219.
Move items 1, 2, and 3.
Second. Madam
I
Clerk.
have a council member
question.
Stevens.
Ms. Dunlap.
Yes, this money was budgeted in 2011, 2012, correct, Mr. Fields? So this money then was already allocated, or it is being
The
carried
original
over
amount
from the
was
project from last year?
the amount was originally allocated. It was allocated as a grant to the city, and as you will speak to it, we've had to amend the amount of money based on some subsequent design changes.
Increase? But the point, I guess my point is still, it was a project left over from last year, and I
No.
want to know if money from last year's budget is being used to pay for this, or if some of it's for this year's budget added,
Okay,
in
I can
addition
add-
to last year. Mr. Fields?
Let me do you.
I can't answer that question. I'm Louis Atwell.
Yes.
Boisterous may be able to answer it. He's the senior engineer on my staff and helped put together the CIP.
Good evening, our Honorable Mayor Pro Tem, Member of City Council, City staff. To answer your question,
Mayor
Ms.
Pro Tem, I'd
Dunlap,
appreciate if the clock would stop while he's giving a staff report, since I would appreciate that. Thank you.
to answer your question, Ms. Dunlap, yes, it was allocated last year, and actually the project has been prepared last year, but it was carried over to this next year's budget.
Okay, so the money, though, is from last year's budget? The
Yes.
money to pay for this is carried over?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I see 37 locations on here, and obviously our new Public Works Director, who's been here since October 1st, can't respond to this. What I have a concern with regard to how these streets, the sewers, I know we had someone come out here and do some investigation to determine, I'm assuming we're doing most needy first. I'm not sure of the timeline. But there's 37 locations here, and I don't see any of them in District 2, and I know we have needs throughout the city. So I'm hoping, with our new Public Works Director, if you would provide some information to this body, if not the body, to me, with regard to the program for the sewer lining that we're doing, that how they're being selected. We do like to see a balance here with regard to all of our districts to make sure they're all well served. So if you could provide that, I would greatly appreciate it. Obviously, we're well aware of our sewer problems, and So, but like I said, 37 locations, and none of them are in District 2. So I want to know what the pattern is going to be. I'm sure you have something laid out as to what the next grouping is going to be, and maybe, who knows, maybe half of those are District 2. I don't know. But if we could get that information, I would appreciate it, because I have my constituents who are asking these questions, because they read the staff reports. Now that they're online, they can see, and they can see these addresses. So I want to make sure that we're fair and equitable. So when you talk about grant money, Mr. Fields, what grant money were you
I'm sorry, I was thinking of speaking to item number 9, not 8. I got it mixed up, I'm sorry.
Okay. Just as a point of reference, Mr. Fields, with regard to the sewer and water rate increases that this council, a majority, approved, there was a second increase going into effect. Was that October 1st, November 1st? When was that increase going into effect?
I believe it was October 1st.
October 1st, yes, ma'am.
So if people are just now getting their increased bills, or will they get them at the end of the month, starting next month?
The first cycle they will receive. The first cycle they will receive before the end of the month.
All right. So at the end of this month, then when they start getting their bills during the month of November, it'll have the increase.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. We're going to have a lot of very unhappy people. Thank you.
Yes, that's true.
Thank you, Ms. Dunlap. Any other comments, Mr. Stevens?
Yes, I just want some clarification here. I see where we have streets here. We have 10th Avenue, but you do not have the block number. Now, you identify 10th Avenue here as being one of the streets that we're going to be conducting this work on. Just what 100 block are we talking about?
We identify it in our map. We identify it through the manhole and segments. So we specify there what manhole number and the segment number.
Okay, if you could get it, if you get that information for me, then the next question I wanted to ask you was this: one of the excuses that have been told since I've been elected to office is that the reason why we have not paved many of the residential streets in District 1 that are not CDBG areas is because we wish to first replace the water mains and the sewer lines underneath the streets. My question to you is this, is that when you conduct this work that you're doing here, let's say for instance on 10th Avenue, will you be repaving the entire street?
No, sir. No, it is not included in our budget.
I understand you're only doing lining.
Yes.
So then I understand that. So that this is my point. When you do a lining, you're actually only inserting a tube through a hole about the size of a manhole cover, correct?
Correct.
So my question is that if we were in fact waiting to reline the sewer lines before we would repave the streets, then how do you justify the explanation that I've been given for the past year and a half that the reason, since you do not have to you do not have to excavate the street, you do not have to open up 10th Avenue in order to reline the pipe? So why was I told, given this information, that first we have to repair our sewer lines, we have to reinstall our water lines, but actually what we're doing is relining them before we can repave?
I believe what was explained to you is that, before the strip pavement will go on their, strip paving or whatever works about the pavement, we will be doing first those trenching or utilities like water and sewer. Now, not all sewer will be repaired by lining. Some of them we will be doing by replacing it. It is based on our sewer master plan because some of them calls for upgrade.
Well, I must tell you, 10th Avenue between 90th Street, or Pinkai now we call it that, between Pinkai and Manchester Boulevard is atrocious. It is absolutely atrocious, the amount of potholes, and the repairs that have been done by our maintenance team. They're doing the best they can with what they have. They need a new street. And what I'm trying to convey to you is that on 10th Avenue, the very reason that they've given me is that, well, we have to repair the infrastructure. So I'm not here. I understand. My question to you, staff, is just simply that questions. My bigger concern is to my manager, my city manager, is why are you telling me this? If it contradicts what staff is telling me, understand what I'm hearing here, and staff is just staff. They're the experts at this. If what we're doing is relining a pipe, relining a sewer line, but yet before we can repave our 10th Avenue, we first have to replace the pipe. Well, we're not replacing the pipe, we're relining it. Why are my residents going without their streets being repaved?
Mayor and City Council, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council, with all due respect, I have not told Councilor Stevens that this particular street would not get done until this infrastructure work is done. I'm not sure where you're getting that from. I did not tell you that.
Well, when you tell me that my areas are not CDBG, and that they cannot be utilized by CDBG block grant funds because they are not in the CDBG block grant area, and also that these streets that have not been repaved but are in need of repair cannot be repaved until the infrastructure beneath them have been replaced. And the mayor himself sits right here in the center, and he recites the exact same verbiage on tape. Then I don't understand. You say you haven't told me that? Okay, so then this is the question. When do you project that 10th Avenue will be repaved?
Why don't you give me the opportunity to meet with staff, and I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, that'll be fine.
All
How
right.
long do you think that will be? How long before you will meet with staff?
Let me discuss with staff. I'll meet with them tomorrow and see how quickly I can get that back to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Fields.
Mr. Franklin?
No, the only thing I want to add is, thank goodness there's been money appropriated for the subterranean items that have been past due. Sewer lines, we know we have reached the maturity time. The only question I have is that I don't understand your codes. And I echo the same sentiments as my colleague in District 1. If you were giving me these manhole code numbers that you have from one to the other, that doesn't tell me the street. So I echo the same requests that my colleague has from District 1. I just want to know, so when you're talking about, in my case, Yukon or 107th Street, tell me what lining you're going to use for that sewer. I would appreciate knowing that. And that would be easy to accommodate?
Yes, sir. We will do.
Okay, so if you can provide that, I'm supporting this item this evening, but just for my own clarity, I would like to get that information.
Sure. Yes, sir. We will do that.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. And I think it would be accurate if you gave us each our own information sheet regarding those items.
Yes, sir. I will do that.
And in regards to the actual item itself, I just want to thank you guys for finally doing this work, and hopefully it does kind of get the ball rolling on some of those other street infrastructure fixtures that we've been waiting for. So I know there's a motion on the floor, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Aye. DR1.
Staff report recommending approval of a memorandum of understanding between the California Science Center.
Move approval.
Second.
Madam Clerk,
I'm assuming we're going to get a staff report?
if you'd like one, we could get one.
Absolutely.
Would you like one?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Mr. Fields, can we get a staff report, please?
Mawusi Watson, the Executive Assistant to the City Manager, will give that staff report.
Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Tonight, I'm representing an item that recommends the approval of a memorandum of understanding between the California Science Center Foundation and the City of Inglewood. To make room for the shuttle, both staff from the California Science Center and the City of Inglewood are facilitating the removal and the reinstallation of power lines, street lights, and trees in the city. This coordinated effort ensures the safe and efficient movement of the endeavor to its final destination, the California Science Center. These three areas are addressed in this MOU: landscaping, traffic, and security. Each of these services are being provided by the city for the California Science Center. Unfortunately, 128 city trees had to be removed to make way for the shuttle. The replacement of the trees will be replanted at a minimum of a 2-to-1 ratio, and therefore a minimum of 256 trees will be replanted. Please note that although the MOU states that the replacement median trees will be 24-inch box trees, The city staff is continuing to work with the California Science Center, and they're requesting bigger trees in the medians. Prior to the day of the move, there will be several obstacles that will be temporarily removed. These obstacles include 26 traffic signal poles and 14 mast arms, 27 street lights and 2 poles, 14 roadside signs, 2 city street signs, and 4 traffic camera system or red flex camera lights. The city is requesting that all of the above be removed and reinstalled back to its original condition, and replace the aforementioned items. Replacement for these items will begin immediately after the shuttle moves. The Inglewood Police Department is providing security services for the California Science Center, and they're going to mitigate the potential impacts caused by transporting the Space Shuttle Endeavour through the city. Before I conclude my report, I would like to respond to the public's comments regarding the prohibition of onlookers in congregation on the city sidewalks. Manchester Boulevard is 80 feet wide. The Space Shuttle Endeavour's wingspan is 74 feet wide. Crenshaw Boulevard is 64 feet wide. And again, the Space Shuttle Endeavour's wingspan is 74 feet wide. As the Endeavour travels down Manchester Boulevard, Crenshaw Drive, and Crenshaw Boulevard, it will not be going in a straight line. It will be zigzagging through the street in order to avoid obstacles. In addition to the zigzagging that will be occurring, there's going to be utility work that's going to be occurring on the streets. This type of movement, in addition to the types of utility work, present a safety hazard. And we felt it was appropriate, IPD, who's protecting our public as well as our visitors, thousands of visitors that we're expecting here, to close off the sidewalks and potentially some streets. Now, we've been advertising our event at the Forum, which will be at 9 o'clock, and city staff has been putting out that this is the main event for viewing the Space Shuttle Endeavour. And we felt like it was counterintuitive to advertise alternative locations to view the site if we're trying to get people to the kickoff event. Now, I will clear the record in saying that we understand that there will be spontaneous congregation around streets along the route, and we're not prohibiting that. If people want to congregate at Oak Street, 20 feet away from Manchester, that will be permitted, and other streets along the route. But it's just unsafe to have people congregating on the sidewalks. So with that, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Watson. Council?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I just have a few thoughts here. First off, I'd like to say to my colleague from the 4th District, Councilman Franklin, that you are thinking in exactly the same direction as I was in reference to indemnification for the city. And I commend you on having this inserted in the Memorandum of Understanding with the Science Center or the Foundation. But my concern with this, and I guess it may be this may be directed, well, let's direct this to the city manager with this question here. In reference to the lease agreement with the Forum that we were just given this evening, the lease agreement identifies that they are requesting us to provide insurance. It says here, in connection with this, with the event, licensee will obtain and maintain the following insurance with insurance companies licensed to do business in the state of California, and with a minimum of a AA rating. My concern is that there's a cost with that. You stated that there was not a cost. But more important than that, in reference to falls under indemnification, I am concerned that rather than the city, there is no mention in the lease agreement in reference to the foundation, the museum, which will be housing, which is actually the catalyst for all this. There's no mention of them in this agreement, in this lease agreement, in reference to liability. Nor is there in their agreement, the memorandum of understanding here that we were also given this evening. This document here states the foundation shall procure and maintain for the duration of the contract insurance claim against claims for injuries to persons or damages to property which may arise from or in connection with the performance of the work. My concern is, will that cover us in reference to people who are attending this event in the forum parking lot, as well as also those individuals? As you know, Edison will be, people who have not received those notices from Edison in my district who are going to be impacted. There are people who are not going to have any type of electrical power. It can stretch anywhere from what Edison says from 4 to 8 hours. Now here's the issue. We have residents who were told in the very beginning of this, at the onset of this, Ms. Mawusi, Mr. Fields, that this was going to be a joyous event, and it seemed as though everything was thought out. Now, as we go along, we find out that this was not actually the case, because what we're going to have is people without electrical power who will not then be able to utilize their computers. They will not be able to watch their televisions, even to watch the event on TV. You understand? They're not going to be able to go to the sidewalk, as Mayor of Los Angeles, Antonio Villarosa, had stated, and as we were told here, that they would be able to do. So now they're basically not going to have power. They're going to be at home. They're going to be there with no power. Their refrigerator will not be working. Their computer's not working. Their television is not working. So they cannot even view this, if you want to call it semi-parade, down Manchester Boulevard. They're just going to be in their home. On top of all that, they're not even going to be able to travel throughout the city as they ordinarily would. A total inconvenience for the residents of this city, those who are going to be without power. Now, I hope that this comes off flawlessly, but I must say, from the very onset of this, these are issues that should have been addressed. They were not brought to my attention. I thought they had been addressed. The representative from Southern California Edison informed my office that residents will not even be able to file claims against Southern California Edison. This is correct, Mr. Jackman. They would not be able to file claims against Southern California Edison for any type of food loss, any type of damages that they sustain because of a loss of electricity, because this is called a pre-planned outage. A pre-planned outage that they have noticed. They have been notified of this, so therefore, they have no recourse to be reimbursed by Southern California Edison. Now, Southern California Edison also states that the resident is to be notified 11 days prior to the event. Yet, I am literally half a block, if you want to call it that, stone's throw from Manchester Boulevard, my residence. People in Carlton Square, they cannot provide me with a map to tell me whether or not they're going to be impacted. They cannot tell me whether or not Briarwood is going to be impacted. The individual at M&M's Soul Food Restaurant, they were told that they were going to be impacted, but now they're going to bring a special cable over so that Sizzler and M&M's will have power. The question is that, do you have a map of who is going to be impacted without electrical power and who is not?
No, I do not have a map. But for those who are unsure, I mean, there are people who I've talked to and they have been noticed. And if you have a question of whether or not your electricity is going to be out, either on the 12th or the 13th, you can call 1-800-611-1911. And that's SCE's general information line, and you can ask them whether or not your address is in the planned outage area, and then they'll tell you whether or not you are or not.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens.
Well, I'm going to conclude. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Comments from Ms. Dunlap?
Yes, the number is...
Can we keep it down? She'll repeat the number right now.
The number is 1-800-611-1911.
Thank you, Ms. Watson. Ms. Dunlap?
Yes, actually, before I speak to the agreement, I want to say, Mr. Fields, I think this planning under your direction has been a complete fiasco. Because months and months ago, we talked about this like it was going to be a parade. We were looking forward to it. People come to the city to see this great historical event with the Endeavor coming down our street. I mean, it was that was the feeling. It was going to be a parade. People were going to come here. It was going to be great fun. And now, with days before the event, Nope, you can't be on the sidewalk. Nope, you can't come and see it. And no, it's not going to be, we're not going to have a program at the City Hall Mall, which we were told months ago we were going to have one right here. That's not going to happen. And I wasn't even notified. I don't even know when that got canceled. But now we're going to have a 30-minute program at the Forum, and people can only enter Hollywood Park to park coming off of Century. I don't know when they're going to hear about that. Now, people actually make plans several weeks in advance. They don't wait till the last minute. Complete fiasco, Mr. Fields, and it rests upon your shoulders. With regard to this agreement, which is what this agenda item is, this also, I'm embarrassed about our agreement, Mr. Fields, that apparently you negotiated on our behalf, on behalf of the residents of the city. You know why I'm embarrassed? Because about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I read in the Los Angeles Times, the city of Los Angeles, they also negotiated an agreement, just like this, for the endeavor to come down their streets. Let's see, we're getting 2 trees for every 1 they removed. Gosh, city of Los Angeles, they're getting 4 trees for every 1. Our agreement says that they're going to provide us with 2 years of maintenance. Gosh, city of Los Angeles is getting 5 years of maintenance. Plus they're getting scholarships. So, Mr. Fields, this is a failed agreement. Am I going to vote for it? Well, of course, because this is an agreement with science, the Science Museum. The Endeavor is coming through here Friday and Saturday. That's it, Friday and Saturday. Of course, I'm going to vote for this. But with regard to the negotiation, you failed us. Why should LA get 4 trees for everyone we get 2? What are we, like second class here? I don't think so. And the fact that my constituents can't witness this historical day by being on the sidewalks, I don't care who made the decision that it was appropriate to keep people away. We never talked about it here. It was never brought to our attention. And what's going out in the media is contradictory. What's been in different local papers is contradictory. What's going on in some of the airwaves and some of the news contradictory. I don't think anybody knows what's happening here. And I'm embarrassed by it. I have constituents who are waiting. They say, well, Councilwoman, can you send us an email? I said, well, when I get all the information straight, I'll send you an email, hopefully after Tuesday's meeting. And right now it's a 30-minute program at the Forum. They can only park at Hollywood Park premises. They have to enter off of Century. I'm mentioning that so you'll know as well if you want to go. I would suggest you go early. It hasn't been referenced here this evening, Mr. Fields, what time the gates open, but that's important. It's very early in the morning. And if Manchester is going to be closed, I don't know how people on the north side are going to get to Century, because I don't know how far the boundaries are where it's going to be closed. Don't you think that's important? Gosh, you know, when they planned the closure of the 405 freeway, what, was that 2 weeks ago? Hundreds of thousands of automobiles, there was no problems. You know why? When they stopped that traffic? Because of notification, advance information, advance education. So people, they just accepted it. They knew what was going to happen. They knew everything. Bang, 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 bang. The timing, everything. People accepted it. This is great. They got it done. Here, the Endeavor is moving down our streets. It's been a complete fiasco on something that I'm still excited about it, but I'm disappointed as well. Because there's so many people, school children, who wanted to...
I'm sorry. Can we just keep it down? I'm sorry, Mr. Brown. Thank you. Thank you.
You know, school children in this community, this is the program, like I said, the City Hall Mall program is supposed to be, I don't even know when that got canceled. But school children, all of our school children, all of them, should have been planned for with regard to where they can be to witness this. It should have been a very organized activity for this community. So we failed our youngsters, and this is a once-in-a-lifetime. This city's, 4 years old? Nothing like this has ever happened in the past, and I don't think anything like this is going to happen in the future. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event, and it's been mismanaged by our city administration for no reason. We've known about this for months and months and months and months. The planning should have been better. Our community should have been involved. Our school children should have been involved. Our principals should have been involved. The school district involved. Excuse me, they didn't cut the time off, with all due respect, another just 10 or 15 seconds. They didn't cut the time off.
10 seconds.
Thank you. And actually, with regard to the timekeeping, Mr. Fields, when the chair is speaking to the audience, you need to make sure you stop the clock on members of the body, please, with regard to their time.
I'm sorry, Ms. Dunlap, but I am running the meeting, so I
Now,
will ask them to stop the clock.
Well, then please do
You're
so.
getting to 10 or 15 seconds.
Well, then, please don't interrupt right now. I should be allowed to say what I want to say. The point is, with regard to the power shutdown, people didn't even know about that. And the only reason we got any information, Southern California Edison hadn't even contacted all the council people who represent Manchester Boulevard. They only met with one.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Dunlap.
May I complete my thought, please?
We gave you the additional time,
You know,
but go ahead and complete it.
You
Ms.
know what?
Dunlap.
Thank
But
you very much. It's only because, I was interrupted, and I really don't like to do this because it seems disruptive. And actually, I'm just trying to complete my thoughts. I think it's important.
How long do you need, Ms. Dunlap?
We have all right, I'll make it quick. We have 113,000 disappointed residents of the city of Inglewood. That concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Ms. Dunlap. Mr. Franklin, do you have any comments?
No, you don't cut me off. Oh, no.
If you go over, I'll cut you off too.
Touche. All right. Just don't turn off my mic. First of all, let me reach out to the residents of the community and thank you for allowing us to have a temporary inconvenience for a national treasury going through the city. Also, I want to reach out to administration that they found out this was more than a notion. With all the logistics that's involved dealing with the multiple law enforcement agencies, the fire and ambulance services, et cetera, that this was a bigger universe than what we had gathered. And so therefore, it has created some hiccups. But over time, and I want to thank staff because I've been here and I've been in your face and you gave me information and I disseminated that information to the public, particularly in District 4. But also my colleagues, we all received the notice from Southern California Edison about the power outage notice and putting us in advance. And I've echoed this and sent it out to my colleagues. I'm sorry, not colleagues, my residents in the district that I have emails for, as well as the concern that I just did another one today because people are unaware about being able to have a good view. But when you identify this monstrosity is coming to our city and it's going to be 5 stories high, you don't need to be on the sidewalk in order to get a good shot of it. But I did have some concerns. And the residents who continue to call me have some concerns. And it had to do with their temporary inconvenience that they're dealing with what is called the rolling street closures. Not everyone has embraced the fact that the endeavor is coming through the city of Inglewood and like to live on their regular lives. And so, as I shared with you before about meetings that are going on that have a direct impact of being able to go north or south of Manchester. And so, when you have what is called rolling street closures, if there's any way that you could share with us what streets and what proximate times that they're going to be inconvenienced, I would welcome that to be able to share with the public. The other one, and I reach out to my colleague in District 1, particularly that residence known as Briarwood, they are actually confined because there is no way ingress and egress. It's only on Manchester. And what accommodations are being made available for the Briarwood residents if they need to get out. And then I raised the area of concern regarding power outages because there's some residents that actually need the advance notice of an outage when they have medical issues. And so if they do not have their generators, if they're not prepared for that, then in turn it becomes an issue. One of the things the staff has done is that they did these robocalls that have gone out last Friday and is going out again tomorrow to let people remind them that this is coming. But people have a tendency of responding after the fact. I didn't know it was going to be here and how it was going to impact me. The number of residents I'm getting calls from are concerned about the location and who's going to be impacted. And the information I received said that there's approximately 50 businesses and 300 residential customers that will be impacted by Southern California Edison, and that the inconvenience or temporary shutdown is for 4 hours, up to 4 hours. And that it also says in this document here you get that there may be interruptions more than once. So obviously if you cut it off and you're going to cut it back on, and you may have to cut it off again as they move these power lines, as they cut the power lines and move the tail of the plane forward, that creates inconvenience. I was startled, like my colleagues, that I'm just assuming that the shuttle, even though I've seen it, was not as big as it's identified, because when it's on a 747, it looks small. But when you look at it, it's going to be on your residential street, and it's 74 feet wide, and you're hearing now that the distance between from sidewalk to sidewalk covers the wingspan, that's big. And so those kind of things need to be vetted so people are aware of it. And the other thing has to do with businesses now dealing with the liability issue of how many of these thousands are going to prey onto their properties without permission, and then who assumes that liability. That's the reason why I brought up that area of concern that my colleague brought up in District 1 concerning the indemnity clause that we as a city needed to make sure that we have, in fact, protected our rights and also the residents. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Just to continue on that, I did sit with Southern California Edison to kind of get a better feel for the map out of which area residents would be affected. I did get more of a targeted area and sent some extra phone calls out to make sure they got their notices. There was a better explanation in terms of how that effect takes place. It is 4 hours, up to 4 hours, but the shuttle will actually be moving quite slowly. So if you're one of the first ones affected, by the time it actually gets on TV and at the forum, those 4 hours will be well past. For instance, actually it will be entering the city of Inglewood at about 1 o'clock in the morning.
1 p.m.
1
on
p.m.
Friday.
1 p.m. on Friday, correct. But it won't actually arrive to the forum until what time?
Until 9
a.m. on Saturday.
Right.
Correct. So it'll be very slowly traveling. And meanwhile, the electrical poles will be getting removed. The space shuttle will be moved forward. It'll be reattached to the electricity, correct? And then they'll continue to move it forward.
Well, you're absolutely correct. They'll be removing dropping lines, raising lines, disconnecting certain lines.
And it just depends. So they have a team. I think they told me they have over 100 employees from Southern California Edison with a full team at the forum. This is something new to them. They will actually be receiving it from the Department of Water and Power in the City of LA at Aviation, getting the transfer over to the Southern California Edison, and then starting at that point. So those 4 hours, those first businesses, I mean, if it enters the City of Inglewood at 1 p.m., by 5 p.m. the first affected, their 4 hours are over. So that's how it's going to start moving forward until the morning of Saturday morning. So while the effect is deep, and I don't want to minimize that, especially for the food, usually the reason, now I did ask for about the claim process, and the claim process is the same. Now there are certain things that were, do you want to start my clock before my colleagues get a little bit irritated about it? But I want to continue on that.
Oh, he wants to continue.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. No,
we'll give you 5 minutes.
We'll give you 30 seconds.
Thank you, appreciate it. Moving forward in terms of actually the effect, now the residents are the ones that are being affected. Most will be done throughout the night. And I've checked with my residents. I know that I think they told me something like, I don't know if it's in the less than 100 homes will actually be affected on my area. I know the deeper impact is in District 1, but it will be equally slower, and that's how it'll be kind of taken upon that morning. So I wanted to focus on that. In terms of taking a look at the agreement, of course, we can all take a look at it right now and see how, we would have improved it, hindsight. However, this is and continues to be a very special event for the city of Inglewood. I actually commend the same folks here in the city of Inglewood who actually do our regular events here. If we had something at the park, the MLK or whatever, they actually took it upon themselves to really kind of help lead that. We've learned a lot, that is true. There's a lot to point at in terms of if we get another shuttle here next week, how we can improve it. So the bottom line is, but how are we going to accept this challenge here in the city of Inglewood? How are we going to accept this responsibility of being on nationwide television? We still get to pick that. And so as many things start popping up in terms of issues we still have to resolve, in terms of some things that we have to accept that we've already adopted in the past. We get to dictate how this city responds on that day, and I welcome the opportunity. I know we still have some issues to work out, but that is how the event has taken place. So I really encourage everybody to really come out. I know some of my block clubs actually, they asked me could they come all the way to Manchester, and they're not going to be able to, but they did ask if they could set up on the street. So I'll be actually asking you where it kind of closes off inside of Manchester Boulevard. So with that,
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Can I respond to some of the remarks real quick?
Okay.
Before you take I would like to say that I want to assure the City Council and the public that this project, while it did, some of the events did occur at the last minute, I want to assure you that this project will move forward in a safe and orderly fashion. I think that staff is prepared. You know, there are last minute items to ensure the safety and ensure that our utilities and infrastructure are replaced in order that our city is much better after the shuttle goes through. I can tell you also, as you all know, that this project the city's been aware of this project for over a year. And during that time, if any of the city council had any ideas about what they would have liked to have seen in terms of an MOU or negotiations, those items could have come up over this year's time. And why, at the last minute, I can tell you that certain council members came to me and asked questions, specifically Councilmember Dunlap, just yesterday regarding what was going on with regard to this project, when in fact, all the council are aware that this project was going to happen on this date and could have come to me at any point in time over the last year that I've been here and asked any questions which were raised and brought up tonight. With regard to whether or not the public is aware of what is going to be going on, robocalls went out to every resident who has a listed number. There is not any reason for not one resident to not be aware of all of the details regarding this project. We've sent out numerous press releases. There's been national media on it. Southern California Edison has contacted residents. Again, there's no reason for any resident to be in the dark about this project. There's many different avenues for which they can ask information. With regard to the issues of the MOU, I did ask staff as we were moving forward to find out what was going on with LA, and I was told that the benefits that we were getting here in Inglewood were similar to those in LA. So I'm surprised to hear tonight that they're getting more than what we're getting. And I do believe, and I hope that when we make a call to the Science Center tomorrow and let them know that I'm aware of these inequities, that they will step up to the plate and make this fair. Because I think that's unfortunate that they've put the city, myself, and staff in a predicament where we're just finding out that this is the case. So I will be making those calls.
Thank you.
Okay. And Mawusi just reminded me that we are getting 4-to-1 in certain areas, but not all. And so I think once I call the Science Center tomorrow, we will find out 4-to-1 trees. Yeah. We will find out if, in fact, LA is getting 4-to-1 with all of their trees, or just like us, if they're getting 4-to-1 in certain areas.
Mr. Fields, I can confirm that because a lot of that came from news reports, and the city of Los Angeles is having 4-to-1 in certain areas and not all. And I would like to also say that the city of Los Angeles does not have an MOU like we're proposing. In their permitting process, they embedded and codified the stuff that we're talking about. We are the only city, I mean there's only two, sorry, that are having an actual MOU.
Okay, and if you could clarify those points, Mr. Fields, that would go a long way actually here, if you were barely made aware. And as well as what Ms. Watson said, you can clarify to us via email if possible.
Yeah, I did know the fact that Ms. Watson just mentioned that we had an MOU and LA did not, but I thought Councilor Dunlap held up a document that referenced that that LA had something. But if that's not in fact what you're holding up, we will check with them, and it could be, as Ms. Mawusi Watson mentioned, that what Councilor Dunlap mentioned is just hearsay and not actually what LA is getting, but we'll confirm that.
What she held up was actually the staff report. I don't know if
No, it's only a bar agreement, and I would like an opportunity to respond.
Yeah, but
Okay.
you know, so okay. Well, those are things that obviously, as a city that's heavily impacted, we would like to see where we stand in the terms of equality. Ms. Dunlap brought up some good points. You've clarified that these are new to you. We would appreciate being informed. Ms. Dunlap, I don't mind you speaking, but if we could keep it to
I'll try to make it quick. I'm going to respond just to things he said. First off, you said you just found out about LA. It was in the Los Angeles Times 2 or 3 weeks ago, so it was public information. There's no reason
You
for
should
me
have brought it
think,
to my attention then if you heard
excuse
about
me,
it.
There's no reason for me to think you wouldn't have seen an article.
Well, I didn't see it.
Mr. Fields, listen, and Ms. Dunlap.
No,
we're
he's
gonna,
interrupting me. Just
excuse
let me finish.
Let me finish. What we're going to do is we will be allowing Ms. Dunlap to speak. I would appreciate if it doesn't become a discussion. There's
Thank you.
obviously two different views here. Ms. Dunlap, but we would also appreciate Mr. Fields has really clarified his situation in terms of what he knew, what you feel he should have known. Please, if we could just comment on any item that's new in information.
Yes, I will. He commented with regard to, no, but I don't appreciate the city manager sitting up there attempting to critique a member of the body. That's not his role. The questions I sent him yesterday were unanswered questions. One of them was, he acted like I never talked about the shuttle. That's misinformation, and it's attempting to malign me, Mr. Fields, and I don't appreciate it, because that's not your job here. You work for the city council to get a job done for the residents of this community and actually for the employees. I asked, where's the shuttle going to be parked from 9 to 9:30 with regard to the relationship to the forum? I got a map tonight. So don't act like I'm asking questions that everybody knew about 6 months ago. I also asked with regard to who is going to be speaking, where the parking was, because my community does not know until I mentioned it tonight that you could only park at Hollywood Park and enter on Century. These are things that until I got my questions answered, I didn't know. And I'm sorry that you don't like members of the body following up with more detailed questions, because that's actually your role. And I was holding up the document that's on the agenda that we were voting on. So, and like I say, there's no reason for me to think you don't read the Los Angeles Times, and nor is it my job to bring to your attention. And with regard to it, you mentioned,
Dunlap.
excuse me, you mentioned
No.
that we've had a year to know about this.
Excuse me, Ms. Dunlap.
That's actually your job.
We're actually going to stop.
Well, I'm sorry that
No,
you
I'm
don't
sorry
believe.
that we put
Then
up
you
a
need to
minute.
stop this man from critiquing members
Listen,
of this body.
Let me tell you, if in fact it becomes
You're doing a
discussion-
good
No,
job
Ms.
imitating
Dunlap,
the mayor.
Let me just clarify. Look, right now I'm chairing the meeting. This particular thing, there's no reason for it to happen. It's not about my opinion here. But the bottom line is, this is our staff, and they've spoken about the item in the staff perspective. Okay, us insulting them is out of line. So, personally, we gave you an extra minute. If there's some items that you'd like to clarify for the public, please do so. But I just don't feel like giving you extra time so we can go the back and forth between staff.
I appreciate that, but actually you should have stopped him in the first place. Now, with regard to Mr. Fields and doing your job,
Start the clock, Ms. Watson.
with doing your job, Mr. Fields, I do understand the shuttle is going to be parked for public viewing at, I believe it's Sepulveda and La Tijera. That needs to be referenced as well, because there was no time frame given with regard to that viewing. I'm uncertain of it, but I would certainly like to tell my constituents about it, and that's before it enters. So I'd like that placed on the record. And also, if some of these side streets are going to be open for people to park or to view, we need to talk about that, because all you've talked about is closing Manchester, and it was originally determined to be like a parade sort of setting. And I think we always knew the wingspan of the endeavor. I think we always knew the widths of our streets. So once again, it comes down to planning. Yes, we want this to go off well. I'm just disappointed that we didn't do a better job, and that's my role here, and I can certainly contribute, because trust me, I'm going to hear about it from my constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dunlap.
Mayor
Oh, one more quick thing. The letter you got, Councilman Franklin from Southern California Edison, that you held up with regard to the power outages that you received from Southern California Edison, you got that, Councilman, at my request to Marvin Jackson, who had not sent it to any member of the body. And I asked him, I said, please make sure every member of the body gets a copy of this letter regarding power outages. Thank you.
I just would like to, if I could, just give the, as the councilwoman referenced, just where in the schedule for the shuttle, if I may.
Could you please print it and put it on the table? We're not going to get into it.
Because she just announced the La Tijera and
The La
Sepulveda.
Tijera and Sepulveda.
Okay, so at 4:15 a.m., the
Now, what day is this, Friday?
Friday. The Endeavor will be at La Tijera, the intersection of La Tijera and Sepulveda Boulevards, and they will be there for 9 hours.
Okay, and could you please make a copy of the rest of the times, and can we put it on the internet on our website?
It is on the internet.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
One
We're
more.
gonna be, no,
With
that's it,
regard
Ms.
to the
Dunlap.
public viewing,
Madam-
is the public
Madam
invited
Clerk?
to be there?
Council members.
At that location?
Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Aye, thank you. DR2 and CSA 3.
A quorum is present. Staff report recommending adoption of a resolution authorizing the process of documentation reflecting ownership in agency properties by the City of Inglewood as a successor agency.
Move
Items
approval.
1 through 3.
Second.
Council members, council and
1, 2, and
agency
3.
members.
Yes.
Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem and Chairman Morales.
Aye. We're going to move into the city manager items and start with CM2, the subsequent need item.
That is, I don't really have the language on it, but it's
Form
an
license.
agreement for the form license.
It's the agreement between the city and MSG for the lease of the parking lot. You're talking about the subsequent additional item?
Yes.
Yes.
I so move.
Second.
Thank
comment,
you.
Comment. If so, I addressed the issues. You've been taking notes. What are your comments in reference to identification in reference to the lease agreement?
The insurance issues, I think I'd have to defer to our city attorney to discuss the insurance issues. I'm not familiar with
Mr.
those.
Sanders?
What's the question about the insurance?
The questions was that, as I stated earlier, on page the indemnification that is being requested by the form states that they wish for us to, for the city itself to indemnify them to the tune of $3 million per incident. I believe that's what it was. I'm going by memory here. But more important than that is that it only identifies the city. It does not identify the foundation, which is our memorandum of understanding is an agreement that is with the foundation itself. So I'm asking to cover the city. Is it possible for us to have this lease agreement be inclusive of the foundation, the Museum of Science, included in this lease agreement in the event that someone, resident, is injured, any person is injured on that parking lot, the city is indemnified by the foundation. Is that possible?
What has happened is we are purchasing insurance, special insurance for the event. We have requested use of the forum property, and therefore the forum has requested coverage and indemnification. In order for us and the forum to be covered, we have procured special event coverage, which covers us up to $3 million, and we have an umbrella policy covering us up to another $10 million. So there is adequate insurance coverage for us without adding anyone else.
Yes, but that's our insurance. It states in the memorandum of understanding that the correction, I would imagine, needs to be with the memorandum of understanding. It states here on, it's not identified by page, but it states 4.2, foundation shall procure and maintain for the duration of the contract insurance against claims for injuries to persons or damages to property which may arise from or in connection with the performance of the work.
Excuse me, you're talking about a different agreement, aren't we, on the...
I've just explained to you, this is from the memorandum of understanding that we've already approved. Therefore,
again, I'm not trying to confuse things, but right now under discussion is our agreement with the licensee, which is we're the licensee, the licensor is MSG Forum. We, the city, have requested to use their property. Since we're the ones who have requested to use their property, we have entered into an agreement with them, and they have requested, and which is certain amount of insurance coverage provided by us, and the insurance covers us for any liability involving our use of the MSG Forum property. So we are adequately covered.
Okay, so now let me clarify my question here. My first question earlier to the city manager was that will there be any cost to the city of Inglewood? He said there would not be. Is this a cost acquiring the insurance?
It's a relatively nominal cost because it's only a cost for approximately 3 days, and the only day that's really significant, the day we're going to have most of the folks actually on the forum property is the day that the space shuttle will be there. So it is a minimum cost. Normally we procure for any special event occurring within the city of Inglewood, we procure special event insurance policy. So whether it would be this event or any other event, we would procure special event insurance coverage.
So then there is a cost.
Yes, there usually is.
Okay, so there is a cost for us to acquire insurance. So the next question becomes this, is that since this is in fact agreement between our city and the forum, and they've requested us to acquire insurance, then the next question becomes, if there is a cost, if there is a risk involved, why doesn't the document, Memorandum of Understanding between the California Science Center and the City of Inglewood, reflect in this document something to the effect in reference to individuals who are observing or participating in this event from a spectator's point of view? This addresses individuals in the performance of work. This is the individuals who are working, they're moving light standards, whatever they're doing. Once again, 4.2 states, foundation shall procure and maintain for the duration of the contract insurance against claims for injuries to persons or damages to property, which property, such as, let's say, for instance, the people who are without electrical power, but they cannot hold Southern California Edison liable, so then they hold the city of Inglewood liable. For property which may arise from or in connection with the performance of the work hereunder by the foundation, its agents, representatives, employees, or subcontractors. I'm simply asking that somehow we include the foundation, the Museum of Science, as also a participant.
Okay, thank
we should share the risk, is my point.
Thank you, Mr.
In this
Chief.
document, the Memorandum of Understanding. That's my concern.
Mr.
Can we do
Saunders,
that?
would you like to
We,
respond to that?
first of all, I believe we are adequately covered in that agreement, and the council has already approved the agreement as outlined. So I don't really believe there's a need to go back and amend the document.
Thank you. Ms. Dunlap, would you like to comment at this time?
Yes, actually I would. Once again, this is the item with regard to, obviously, at the forum, and it's just a few days before the event. Once again, this goes back to our pre-planning inadequacies, because it's an absolute necessity that we have this. I don't know how many months we've known we were going to have this event at the forum, but at least it's being taken care of this evening appropriately. But I would like to know, Mr. Fields, what time the forum will be open for spectators to go onto the property. Now, I know you probably knew this 3 months ago, and I should have asked
Do you
you
have
then,
to
but if
just
you don't
answer?
mind, I'll ask
If you have a
this.
question for me, ask it. I don't
just
need
asked
the
you.
additional rhetoric.
Well, actually,
Okay,
I'll
all right.
say whatever I want
Okay,
to say.
okay.
Thank you
Well, I'm
very
just
much.
letting you know.
Ms. Dunlap.
Ask the
Excuse
question.
me. Thank you.
Right.
Fields,
Okay.
listen, let
The-
me tell you something.
right.
You know, this is absolutely unproductive to our residents.
Just
on
answer the
both
question,
sides.
please.
Right.
Go ahead.
To answer your question, the public will be able to enter the parking lot at 4 o'clock in the morning.
No, I didn't say the parking lot. I said the forum, the spectators
and the
are walking onto
spectators
the forum.
on the forum as well, both.
So is that being put out for public
That's already been
information?
put out in the press releases and all the information that we have, yes. It's also in the staff report as well.
Well, I'm more concerned about the public information. So this robocall is being made tomorrow. That'll be made perfectly clear?
Yes, and actually, it'll be made, what was the issue after?
My time can't
Yeah.
possibly be up.
No, it's not. I've been timing it. We haven't had the clock going.
Well, it's,
You are
yeah.
barely a minute and a
Okay.
half in.
The next robocall was that when?
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
No, I didn't ask when it was. That was already stated. I said, is it going to clarify for the public what time they can park in
Yes, it
Hollywood
will.
Park
Yes, it
property
will.
and what time they can walk onto the forum?
Yes, it will.
And is it going to state, as I posed the question earlier, which was not answered, Mr. Fields, and it has to do with if Manchester is closed, how will people on the north side get over to Century? And where, at what point on Manchester will be able to, where people can go? How far east do they have to go? And how far west do they need to go to get on the south side of Century?
Okay, on Saturday, La Cienega will be open. So La Cienega is
Oh, so, wait a minute. I think you're not understanding my question. So you're saying then if someone lives in, say, North Inglewood, for instance, you're directing them to go down to La Cienega?
On the 13th, because between, okay, on October 12th, Manchester will be closed from Aviation to Eucalyptus from 9 a.m. to midnight. And then on the 13th, Manchester will be closed from from Eucalyptus all the way to Crenshaw Drive from midnight to 6 p.m. So on the 13th, anything west of Eucalyptus will be open. Therefore, La Cienega will be open. And people who are coming from the northern portion.
Okay, my point is, would you please make sure that you write something up that we can send out via email to everyone, to our constituent base, with all this information that's coming out, a lot of it new this evening, and make sure it's in the robocall so people know if, like, if they're on the north side of Manchester. For instance, let's just say they want to get to the forum at 7:30 in the morning. If you're suggesting they can cross over at La Cienega, is that what you're saying?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, just make sure that's clear so people are not, those who wanted to watch it thinking they could be on like a parade route and can't do that, and they decide to go to the forum, because we're not having it at City Hall Mall here either, make sure that they are given clear direction so they don't get blocked someplace.
Okay.
And with regard to portable bathrooms and things of this nature, who's taking care of that for us?
Consolidated disposal.
Okay, and how many you're planning on having on the site, and how many people are you expecting?
We're expecting 10,000 people, and I don't have the exact amount of the porta potties, but I can email that to you.
I'm sorry, I can hear you.
I said I do not have I said we're expecting 10,000 plus people, and I can email you. I don't have the information for.
So then you've requested of consolidated portable bathrooms
that
to
accommodate
take
at least 10,000 people.
Okay, that's adequate.
Okay.
I guess, I mean, they should know what they need to have.
Yes.
With regard to individuals on the premises, they'll just be, is the only seating for participants of the program and
Yes.
guests of, say, elected officials and so forth? Is there other seating being provided?
No, there
What
is
kind
not.
of accommodations?
Other than the program participant area, there will not be any other seating.
So it'd be like standing only?
Yes, unless you bring your lawn chair out, you know.
That's a good idea.
So then, with regard to then program participants, say members of the city council and people from here,
Yes.
are there going to be shuttles from here to there, or? I mean, there's a concern if you're really expecting 10,000 people that Century going on to the whether it's a casino or Hollywood Park property might be difficult. Are you planning any kind of shuttles for people coming from here?
Even from City Hall?
Yes.
We can, I mean, we've discussed that, and we don't have that concretely ironed out at this point in time, so.
Okay. When might you have it ironed out?
I mean, the event is I mean, and I apologize, but the event is a couple of days away, so.
That's correct.
I would say by tomorrow.
By tomorrow. Okay.
And I just would like to address, initially, we did state that, we were going to have the event at City Hall. However, once we understood the magnitude of this thing, that possibly 10,000 people could be here, understanding the topography of that mall area, it wouldn't accommodate that amount of people. And so it was, a change to move it to the forum where it can accommodate 10,000 plus people.
I understand with regard to the logistics, the forum, of course, can handle many more people. What I'm saying, the shuttle is a particular size. I want to repeat, our streets are a certain size. We always expect a large number of people. And I think maybe the community, I would have appreciated the community could have gotten more involved in the planning, so we made this a real team effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dunlap. Mr. Franklin?
Yes, I like my colleague's comment from District 2 about not everyone has the zeal and ability to go from the Hollywood Park parking lot to the Forum facility. And since we have shuttle services available to our seniors throughout, this would be an opportunity to use those shuttles for the drop-off and pickup off of Pinkay Drive and keep that rotation going. I think that would be very supportive, weighing that as a consideration.
Yes, I will talk to Sabrina.
I do also want to acknowledge, even though this is not the item on the agenda, I would also like to acknowledge that in that email I sent out earlier today, that I did emphasize that the Forum parking lot will be open to pedestrians only. No unauthorized vehicles will be allowed on the Forum parking lot. Parking will be available at the Hollywood Park property by accessing the entrance at Prairie Avenue and Albrevita Street. The Forum parking lot will be open to the public beginning at 4 a.m. on Saturday morning. Please note that there will be food trucks on site at the Forum for those who wish to patronize them. And then also with my colleagues' concerns in District 1, with that MOU we talked about, I also hope that it covers the liability issue that he raised regarding the contract shall contract for crowd management services as designated by the Inglewood Police Department, which is item N, 21N, and then also 22E, provide crowd management and pedestrian access control to facilitate the safe movement of the space shuttle, protection of the operation of the personnel and the public, and maintain a safe and orderly event for everyone. So with the assurance that the $3 million insurance that is needed, this will move forward. And that I do want to stress also that it talks about the cost to the city is one of those additional items that is part of the agreement that would be required to be paid by the California Science Center. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And
Mayor
Ms.
Pro
Dunlap,
Tem?
you have one
Yeah,
additional
thank you very
question?
much. You see, I was told it was you could only enter on Century, which actually was sent out in my district. And actually, Councilman Franklin just said, I think I heard you correctly saying people could enter on Arborvitae and Prairie?
Yeah, well, for the Hollywood.
For the Hollywood Park
for the
parking
Hollywood
lot?
Park, yeah.
Yeah, well,
off of Century and Albrevita.
Well,
Prairie, off of Century.
correct. However, I was told only off of Century, and that's what went up.
And also, I'm going to say Yukon.
See?
Well, let's just get it clarified.
Yeah, we need to get it clarified. That's part of
It's not
the
my
issue.
understanding that the entrance on Prairie will be closed off. That's not my understanding.
So it will be open, to
Yes,
clarify.
that's my understanding.
And that's my understanding as well.
Yes.
Prairie is open or closed?
Prairie will be open.
Okay, well then.
And Albrevita.
Well, it was.
Arborvitae will be open.
Okay, well then why was it put out in my district?
I don't know.
Okay, well the information I was told came from the city manager's office, but I'll confirm that because that email has already been sent out that you could only enter off of Century. So this is just part of the issue. We need to make sure everything's straight. How it got sent out, if it's wrong, it's wrong. But let's just get it straight so everybody knows how to get onto the property.
And that's a good question, and we could have it clarified both on the internet as well as forwarded to us. But my understanding was that it was going to be open. However, I also know that that was also still getting worked out, and the reason I know that is because Arborvitae became a street where they would have no parking for the duration of most of the day. I was advised, I started asking. That's when they started, I believe, they're going to leave one lane open on Arborvitae to continue to go back and forth so that the community could actually get to their homes. And as well, because they decided to do that, they decided to continue all the way into Hollywood Park. So I do know that it could have been new information since that mailer went out. But you know, an event this big is ever evolving. Still a good question. I appreciate that if you could clarify that to all of us, as well as on the internet and to our residents, and perhaps on the phone blast also include, you can enter both on Prairie and Century as soon as you confirm that. Thank you, Ms. Dunlap. Thank you to my colleagues, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I just wanted to make a suggestion, if I could. Kareem Court, we may want to provide that shuttle service. In thinking about this, we may wish to just simply utilize Kareem Court as a shuttle for our for the participants with our I-Line shuttle, as well as also our Red Line vehicle, just simply to ferry people back and forth from Hollywood Park. Because if we were to bring them onto the property itself for the forum, it's going to be total chaos. Also, the other issue I'm concerned about is that, you know, the forums does seat 17,000 people indoors in the round, but facing Manchester Boulevard, I'm not even sure if we're going to be able to have enough room for, let's say, just 5,000 people standing shoulder to shoulder.
I think anticipation is that they will be able to see it because of its height. But those issues, while we can't make a decision on them here, I do welcome those, and what you can do is I would encourage staff to look into how we can utilize Kareem Court, if at all, with the I-Trolley, because that's actually a good idea if it can be utilized in that way. But we'll leave it like that, and we'll go ahead and move the actual license.
Yeah, and we would just simply keep it where there's no parking on Kareem Court. That way we would have free reign of Kareem Court. And then people would offload there and just walk onto the parking lot rather than take them all the way to the...
Keeping it without parking and keeping the access just in case. That's actually good. We should be doing that anyway. But okay, so Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Aye. Verbal reports, Mr. City Manager.
Yes, Mayor and City Council. I want to first start off by saying and reassuring again the council and the public that I'm very aware of my role here as City Manager and my interaction with the City Council. I've worked for a number of different cities and seen interactions with city managers and city councils over my 25 years, and I do know that some of those relationships are not positive and they don't go well. I've been very proud of the fact that for the last 3 years as city manager in the city of Salinas, you can review the tapes of all those meetings and see that I had a very positive and productive relationship with all my council members there, and they all were very disappointed to see that I was leaving, and we were doing a lot together to move the city forward because we work well together. But I can tell you that as in any employee relationship, that in order to get respect, you have to respect your employees. And respect is not something that you demand, but it's something that you earn. And what you're seeing between the relationship with Councilmember Dunlap and I is that I think that our relationship has gone to one of disrespect. She has taken. Okay. All right. Well, then I'll stop there. I'll stop there. But I would say that I've attempted to have a productive relationship with all my council members, and I do believe that I have that with with the majority of the council members, and I look for every opportunity to do that as much as I can. But I would like to say that if you review the tapes, you will see that as was mentioned here, I am not the one starting the attacks. I'm just responding, and
Mr. Fields, that's enough, actually.
All right, okay.
And I would just like to say, look, you need to trust the fact that we all deal with you individually, and we know who you are. Okay? You need to trust that because the minute it's okay, it's on. But the minute that you address one specific person on the dais, I'm sorry, it's on. The minute you address one specific person, you really encourage the fact that the chair needs to allow a response, and that in itself would require, putting the chair in kind of a difficult situation. So at this point, we did hear your comments. You need to trust the fact we welcome you, as well as, we've all worked with Ms. Dunlap for a number of years. So, I think that also that takes getting used to, but thank you for your comments. A1.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. There was a closed session held as to CS1 closed session conference with labor negotiators under Government Code Section 54957.6A, Employee Organization, Service Employees International Union, Inglewood Management Employees Organization, Inglewood Executive Organization, Inglewood Police Officers Association, Inglewood Police Management Association, Inglewood Police Civilian Management Association. Negotiators for the city is a Artie Field City Manager. Discussions were held, however, no final action was taken. There was a closed session held as to CS2 closed session, confidential attorney-client privilege, potential litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9B1, claim of Santa Monica Systems. Request a motion to approve payment of billing.
So moved.
Second. Madam Clerk.
Council members Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem
Aye.
Morales.
There was a closed session held as to CS3 closed session, confidential attorney-client privilege, potential litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9B1, claim of Carl Warren. Request a motion to approve payment of billings.
So moved.
Second. Madam Clerk.
Council members Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Aye.
There was a closed session held as to CS4 closed session, confidential attorney-client privilege, potential litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9B1, claim of Veritex. Request a motion to approve payment of billing.
So moved.
Second. Madam Clerk.
Council members Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Aye.
There was a closed session held as to CS5 closed session, confidential attorney-client privilege, potential litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9B1, claim of Macro Pro. Request a motion to approve payment of billings.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Aye. A2.
No verbal reports. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
CC1.
Just wanted to remind people that if they want to register to vote, they have until October the 22nd. And if they need registration forms, they can get them out of the city clerk's office. And if they need to, or if they've changed their address or anything of that nature, they need to re-register with the new address. They have until October the 22nd. We can mail out the forms, and our number is 310-412-5280. Thank you.
So they can call you and you can mail them a form?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't even know that. Thank you. CT1.
Yes, I have a brief report for the council and the attending public, as well as those that's viewing. Also, I'd like to mention that the city treasurer budget presentation, I did leave copies on the outside table there because I've been away for a couple of weeks, and my presentation was not included in the group presentation that was done about 3 weeks ago. So again, a copy is on the outside table. And I would like to report regarding the bills that were paid for the month of August was $11.6 million. The net payroll was $3.9 million, and the total for the month was $15.5 million. For the month of September, the bills were $7.3 million, and the net payroll $2.4, and the total for the month was $9.7 million. And also, I would like to report regarding the bank failures. Thus far, there's just been one bank failure that was in Illinois, the weekend of 9/28, with assets of $328.4 million. The total number of banks that have failed this year has been 43, and the total banks that have failed has been 460 nationwide. And the total assets of these failed banks have been $691.9 billion. And the loss to the FDIC has been $84.8 billion. and we have roughly about 324 banks that have not paid back their TARP money. So we're talking about roughly $11 billion. And also with regards to unemployment, it has fallen below the 8% nationwide, and for Inglewood, it's about 14.4%. And the labor force for Inglewood is 53,500 people, and the number of employed is 46,000, and unemployed is 7,500. For Los Angeles, the unemployment rate is 12.3%, and their labor force is 1.9 million. Number employed is 1.7, and the number of unemployed is roughly about 539,000. So some of the other cities have high unemployment also. City of Industry, 19%, Compton, 19%, Willowbrook, 18%, and Bell Garden, 17%, and Maywood, 16.2%. And also I'd like to point out that the City Treasurer Student Intern Program will be starting as scheduled on October the 11th, which will be this coming Thursday, and the program will go from 3:30 until 6 p.m., and it's a 5-week program, and we meet at my office, and then we come up to the 9th floor. And thus far have roughly about 11 students. There still is room for about 5 more students. So you'll be learning about how your local elected officials represent their community, learn how city departments operate, the responsibility of the city treasurer's office, how money grows, how to become financially independent, so that hopefully you'll avoid some of the mistakes that perhaps even your own parents made, and a lot more. And also we have a field trip is still planned to the one of the sound recording studios. And also keep in mind that a hot lunch will be served from 3:30 until 4. So I normally order all the pizza and all the trim and all the things that kids like. So look forward, to the new students for this time. And also, I just want to also say a special thank you for those who sent cards, with regards to my mom who passed away about 3 weeks ago. Matter of fact, it was the last council meeting on the 18th. And I want to thank Councilman Franklin, who did actually attend the services and did present a plaque of appreciation on behalf of the council. And also, Mayor Butts did call me. He was apparently out on with some sort of urgency himself, so he did call and give his condolences. And I want to thank Congresswoman Maxine Waters. I didn't really request any plaques because I had kind of let my mom smell her flowers while she was here, and I had given her an 80th birthday celebration at the Proud Bird, where we had a lot of family members, and I gave her about maybe a dozen plaques that I had requested from a number of elected officials. So it wasn't something that I knew that she really particularly appreciated, but I do appreciate it, the one that the council did present anyway, as well as Congresswoman Waters. Senator Rod Wright also sent one, as well as Councilman Parks, and also Municipal Water District member Gloria Grace. I want to thank them. And also I want to thank Cheryl Moore for that great peach cobbler that she brought by my home. I must have picked up an extra 5 pounds. I ate the whole thing almost myself. Thank you, Cheryl. And I want to thank the Inglewood Women of Vision and the 78 Place Block Club and the Willowbrook Lane Block Club and the Leadership Council Inglewood Today for the nice article that they wrote, in their paper, and also the Waves, Betty Pleasant. And again, the service was held at my mother's church, which is Westminster Presbyterian Church. And it's been a very long membership there. I think our family have like a 60-year history there, been going since the 50s. So it was a service that could not last, 5 hours, because all of our family is interred at Forest Lawn Hollywood Hills. But again, I want to thank everyone for all of the cards, the calls, and the offer for help, and also the council again for the plaque of commemoration for my mom. Thank you. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. We'll recess the city council meeting and call into order the City of Inglewood Successor Agency.
A quorum is present.
CSA 2.
Approval of the minutes held August 28th, 2012.
So moved. Second. Madam Clerk.
Agency member Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Chairman.
Aye.
Thank you.
CSA 3 and DR 2.
We did that already.
Oh, we sure did. Thank you. We're going to take a short recess so they can change the tape. 5 minutes. Thank you. Okay, we have public comments. Before I actually call for public comments, I do want to mention that in between one of our breaks, I addressed an issue with the city attorney, who reminded me that public comments under the Brown Act are for that, actually that, just public comments, and no audio would be allowed during public comments. No, well, you can do public comments, but no audio recordings would be allowed.
Well, nobody can record it.
That's right.
Mayor Pro Tem.
You can.
Let's
I'm
allow the
sorry.
city attorney.
I misstated.
Yeah.
I misstated. You can record it. You cannot play it.
Because I played it earlier tonight. Is that what?
Yeah. The city attorney responded to me. We addressed the issue in between meetings, and that was addressed. So I apologize for it was my incorrectly allowing it earlier. So I was that was addressed with me earlier, so it won't be allowed here. So public comments at this point.
Well, first, the quorum is present.
Oh, thank you, Ms.
You're welcome.
Council, my name is Joseph Becerra. Tonight, I'll begin to play parts of the 911 tapes that were where IPD repeatedly refused to investigate or even write a report when my neighbor's son and his friend were the victims of a shooting. These tapes were illegally withheld by IPD in the city with this council's knowledge for months. Remember, all of the IPD tapes I'll play in the next months with example after example of IPD misconduct came from just one night and involves several IPD employees, and Captain Sissick and former Chief Seabrooks and the mayor have lied to the public to cover it up. So it's likely that this IPD misconduct happens all the time, but rarely gets exposed because IPD and the city officials help cover it up. Remember, 3 years ago, the Justice Department investigated IPD for killing at least one unarmed citizen every month for about 5 months. And the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department is now investigating IPD for, quote, not providing police services to City of Inglewood residents who are largely minorities, unquote. So why doesn't IPD provide basic police protection to some residents? It appears that too many IPD officers and administrators believe it's not worth investigating some violent crimes against Inglewood's residents who are mostly people of color because they believe those residents are in some way criminals themselves and either don't deserve police protection or wouldn't cooperate with a police investigation. The night I saw my neighbor's son and his friend, who were about 16 years old, almost get shot in a drive-by, they weren't wearing gang clothes or flashing gang signs. They were just walking home on my street. However, statements by Captain Sissick and the IPD tape I'm about to play show that without even knowing the boys, IPD assumed in an unprofessional and discriminatory manner that because my neighbor was male and lived in Inglewood and was shot at, he must be a gang member. He must be dangerous, and he would never talk to the police because of some gang code. The tape shows that when I repeatedly told IPD officers I wanted them to try to talk to my neighbor's son to get any information he had about who shot at him, I even volunteered to find out where he lived. However, IPD discouraged me, saying, quote, if this person is shot at, there's a reason he's being shot at.
It may not be tonight. I could just go down and say, where exactly does this guy live? And they would tell me, and then maybe I could.
Mr. Teixeira, would you please shut it off? Officer, can you please have him shut it off? Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. You're welcome.
Hello, council members. My name is Michelle Banks-Ordone. I've been a resident in the city of Inglewood for 15 years now. Interesting. I want to thank you first for your approval of Ability First. I live in very close proximity to that location, and I'm very happy with the outcome of that. And secondly, although you've discussed it in relation to Space Shuttle Endeavor, if you'll indulge me, I had meetings all day today. Thank you, council members, for bringing up a number of concerns. I, too, share several of the ones that you've mentioned. I feel very good as a resident that you had those concerns. And to staff, I want to thank Ms. Watson I had several that I shared with her outside, and she took time. However, I want to offer some hopeful resolution to a few of the elements that are outstanding and remaining. I live in the area where Manchester, West Boulevard, and Crenshaw Drive are all bordered. That's north of Briarwood. Like Briarwood, we will be shut off. As a result, our only exit will really be West Boulevard, Victoria really, exiting onto Florence. That is really a blind exit that's already very dangerous. As a result of that, I am really hopeful that perhaps you will be able to have traffic patrol and/or attendees or guards out there that will help us to actually exit that area in a more safe and secure manner. I hope you'll do the same for Briarwood. If I'm not mistaken, they have an emergency gate with the key or exit onto 90th or Kelso, I believe it is, and perhaps that is an opportunity there as well in order to give some ingress and egress. As far as the electricity, I'm hearing up to the 4 hours max, and I really hope that Southern California Edison holds true to that. We do have people in the area that are dependent upon insulin, and that would become very problematic. I was concerned when I heard this as a rumor, which is why I'm here tonight. At our PTA meeting, I went online on my phone and actually saw it was agendized to make sure it wasn't a rumor so I can take it back to our community. I have concerns about that. Things happen. It happened with our planning. I know staff worked very, very hard, but at the last minute, things change. What if something changes? If it gets stuck, that 4 hours is going to be longer than 4 hours. What does that mean to the freezer? And the fact that we couldn't file claim, that's very problematic now hearing that. I'm looking at the ability of having a generator, and for those with medical problems, perhaps there is a way in which one could be given to them. That pretty much, I think, sums up my comments on those 2 items. So I appreciate your time, and I'm not sure if there's any way to get a yes or no back from anyone. Last thing. You talked about noticing and rolling phone calls. Just an FYI, I am a digital person. I haven't used a landline in 2 years. Everything goes through my cell phone. My smartphone is connected to the alarm in my house. It's connected to most of the programming in my car. So you certainly wouldn't have gotten a hold of someone like me. And I didn't get a flyer from Southern California Edison. I do have the number now that I can call them with, and I'll be sharing that with our residents. If there's any more handouts that you have available, you can please, if you can give them to me tonight, I will certainly try to help distributing that. We only have a few days. And Councilmember Morales, you mentioned that it's up to us in terms of how we want to act now that we know that the shuttle's coming through and we do have all this misinformation that's come out. There's no one in the city of Inglewood that's going to go out and put a poor face on the city of Inglewood in relation to the space shuttle. But knowledge is power. So because of the misinformation, not the fact that some of us may not have gotten it, but that it was wrong, we need to clarify that as soon as possible so that that best face can go forward. Thank you.
My name is Alfonso Parker Jr. I'm a Vietnam veteran, 66, 67, conscious objector as well, sent into Vietnam like many others that you're not aware of. I'm not going to talk about that experience because I'm dealing with that with a congressman now. I have some other issues. You know, Inglewood, especially Manchester, is a very busy street, and you might want to think about this. I don't know if you can do anything about it, but the 115 travels down Inglewood, and it stops running at 11:41 at night. Now, you have businesses that are open still, going east and west, especially through the heart of Inglewood, and actually you could say all the way to Sepulveda, because we got businesses that stay open to it. Somebody maybe need to look at that, because we need to have some kind of service, if it's not the metro, some kind of service that runs at least until 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, the 40 will run La Brea north and south all night. But we need something, because there's a lot of businesses on Manchester. Just like this shutdown is going to hurt a lot of businesses because their power is going to be off, and people might be in their parking lots like Carl's, or 7-Eleven has their own generator when things happen, but some of them don't. This is going to hurt a lot of businesses. They were expecting, well, maybe a big-time party. This is going to be a good time to make some money. This plan was not well thought out, although it was thought out for a long time. They just didn't think cover all their bases. Somebody should have had a brainstorming operation, which is what you usually do instead of just certain people. These are things you brainstorm because everybody can contribute, just like we're talking about now, right down to John Q. Public.
Hello, my name is Anthony Davis again. On the flyers that your staff is just handing out to people, I'm wondering exactly what type of public viewing you are allowing here at 8 a.m. This is what your city clerk just handed out to people in the hallway, which reads as following. It should pass City Hall here in Inglewood and is designated viewing area. What type of viewing are they at 8 a.m. on Saturday on Saturday morning?
I'll have staff clarify at the end of the meeting.
Yeah, thank you.
And just for the record, I'm the city clerk and I didn't pass anything out.
Good evening again, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, staff. Ray Davis, Inglewood, 2nd District. I wanted to bring to everyone's attention that past going on a couple of weeks, we've had a couple of officer-involved shootings here in Inglewood. And, I would like to first say Officer Benjamin Sanza, he took a bullet for this city. And quite frankly, I appreciate it. I hope more than one person I hear that you're going to recover from your injuries. You were shot in the leg and the calf, to be precise. So rest up, heal up, get your head straight, because I can't imagine what it takes, feels like, or means to get shot. I've never been shot. So my prayers are with you, as I hope everybody else who believes in law and order in this city. All the best to you. Also, there was a police shooting where the details are still coming out. Somebody went with a weapon. Allow course, that's what you have to do. That's a tragedy as well. My heart goes out to that family, loved one. And with that, my last minute and 20 seconds, I was just sitting out there in the audience and I'm looking at our great seal of the city of Inglewood, looking at what it represents and the symbols that are on it. And to the left of the field is an aircraft, because Inglewood's nickname is the Harbor of the Air. This is something I can put to the City Council. How involved would it be to change our city symbol a little bit? Add the space shuttle right. Thought. I don't think we'd have to move heaven and earth to do it. I recall, because of a lawsuit by the ACLU, the same city of Los Angeles, the city of the angels, had to remove 3 crosses representing the Trinity from its great seal. So I'm pretty sure the ACLU won't consider the symbol of a space shuttle be a religious icon. So I don't think we should have a hard time. Why don't you guys look into that?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, city staff, and council. My comments will be this. Mr. Fields, we brought you here to solve our budget problems a year and so many months ago. That was our #1 priority. Every council member and mayor was brought here to save the city from fiscal and financial ruin. Yes, we did know about the space shuttle, but that was not a priority. That wasn't. priority in the city was to get us out of our financial problem. That's where our focus was at. And as far as we're concerned, we went from 17 million to a $4 million budget. Hey, kudos to you and whoever else helped you do that. Now, this little miscommunication now, because we've all, at 0 hour, want to talk about the shuttle and planning. Well, Mr. Fields, like you said, it takes a team to move everything forward. Never at 0 hour now decide, okay, well, we should have planned for this, we should have planned for that. No. When we were having budget problems, then we should have had, and we knew about this in months, everybody should have put in suggestions as to what this great city was going to do for this event. But we all failed. We as a city failed. The citizens, maybe we don't want to say that, but we all did. But it's here. The problem, it's not going to go to City Hall. We all would love it to go to City Hall, but we all know that Los Angeles is the city that's going to run this whole deal. They don't like Inglewood. They don't mention it in the paper. They don't mention it in the TV show. Inglewood is just not a fair city for the city of Los Angeles. So everything is predicated around Los Angeles. Okay? We don't get no deals. We are minorities. We are the forgotten people because we are minorities. But that's okay. I know who I am, and I hope you as residents know who you are. Y'all stand up proud. Y'all make this event what they don't want it to be. We will not act ignorant. We will act like civil human beings that have intelligence, and we will prove the world wrong and say, yes, Inglewood is the city of champions, because Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar will always reside here. Thank you.
Okay, since we playing last seat, I want to read this. This is on page 33 in our article, Administration Officer. There is hereby created in the service of the city the position of the administrative officer, whom shall be appointed by the city council and serve directly under the supervision and the control of the city council, is an administrative capacity. The reason why I'm reading this to you, Artie,
Miss Austin, please address the council.
Why are you interrupting Butts, Junior? Jesus.
That's fine, but please address
Please.
the council. Thank you.
Damn. Okay, the reason why I'm reading you this, you're not sitting there, you wasn't elected. You have to respect the council. One more vote, you out of here. We done had too many people that came and sit in this seat that was way much better than you. And we didn't have a mayor that ran the city alone and told you what to do and threw all the work on you to set you up. We didn't have a mayor like that, okay? And we didn't have a person like him telling the Stevens that he should be gone and he don't even live here. He ain't stepped a beat. He ain't made a walk beat for nobody up there, okay? All he is what he telling, because he's a commissioner. He ain't nothing else. Don't lose your job talking back to these council members. I'm telling you. I'm telling you because I like you. One of them are flipping you out of here. Two already against you. One more and you out. The mayor nobody likes this city. We used to be on the news every night. The city of Inglewood, the weather report, they're gonna be so and so. We're not even on the news anymore. What that mean? Since this mayor been here, we've been going under. The sewer, how you lining the sewer? He lied and said that the sewer, the pipes need replacing. Everything Junior and Mike is saying and Ralph and them is the truth. He said it. And it's on now. You watch what you say to these council members, because they will flip on you. 16 years in politics, I know. You understand what I'm saying to you, honey? They will flip on you. Don't say a word. Ask Cal Sanders what he went through. You ask all of us from here, And we had people with PhDs here, and they got rid of them. So don't think you'll see this because he buffaloing and bullying you. We hate bullies. Why you think he ain't here tonight? Because of the shutter. He knew what he did was wrong. He put this child here for her to get all of the beatings. That's what I'm saying to you. That girl did nothing. You ain't did nothing. You didn't know. He did all of this. That's why he ain't here. He ain't done nothing. He ain't here because the people was coming in. You stop talking back to them. All right? Please.
My name is Willie A.G., and I don't feel good tonight. One thing I want to say is, the Harry Mans, Crenshaw Boulevard, shouldn't have been put through, had to go through. I have a cousin live right across the street. He don't know anything about any protest happening at Harry Mans. He approve of them. And first of all, how can you say, I'm going to pass something that's going to happen 10, 15, 20 years from now? Not that I know it's going to happen, because I think it might or it could happen. If they decided to put apartments in there 10, 15 years from now, there won't be anybody here that's sitting on this council now. It'll be up to the people that's on the council to approve that. That's what I think, and that's what I believe is right. I want to say this. If the two councilmen from 1st and 2nd District was to come to work every day, which is what they're being paid to do, then they won't have to go through all this questioning. Would you have?
Miss Austin, he's right. He stayed there quiet. Come on, let's just get through this.
But he
meeting.
lied.
Miss Austin, please.
All right. But
Thank
he's
you.
lying.
Thank you.
I've seen
Go
him
ahead,
all.
Mr. A.G. Please.
Give me my time back, please.
Sure. Oh, we
You
stopped.
stopped the clock? Okay. The problem is, people getting paid $70,000 a year plus to insult staff. That's not right. They can't defend themselves, but, you know, I'm a citizen. I'm speaking as a citizen, 48 years here in the city, and I have a right to do the same thing to you that you're doing to staff. It's not right. I don't love coming up here criticizing you people, but if you did what was right, then you wouldn't have to come up here and talk all night, keeping the people here all night and not accomplishing a thing. It's not right. You need to think about it. But I want to say to the people in the 1st and 2nd District, April, take them out. Put somebody in there that's going to represent you.
Thank you, Mr. A.G.
You're welcome.
You should not be allowed to politic from the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Wilder. Appreciate it. I'll handle it from here. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Diane Zambrano, and I can't help but notice that it isn't all night yet. It's only 10:30. I guess one of the things that I find interesting, if anyone goes to the City of Lawndale council meetings, they make a whopping $450 a month, and they stay quite late. But we won't go there because the budget is such a fiasco anyway. My concern is that, do y'all recognize this book? Some of you should. Some of you, people I'm speaking to right now, should have your individual comments ready to be submitted by 5 p.m. tomorrow. for the draft environmental report for the spas of LAX. It's interesting that in this community somehow we celebrate being the quote-unquote gateway. In my world, that kind of means doormat, because it's getting people from there over to somewhere else. And we're just like the shuttle, the big old path to get through. One of those things that y'all seem to have approved was the palm versus the palms, the king versus the queens. And yet if you read anything that's arboristic, those are water suckers. We're in a community that needs to worry about our drought, and you're choosing to plant serious, water-sucking, non-deciduous, poor selection that you can read up anywhere, replacements for what were shade trees. You know, as I look at this book, it kind of reminds me about how we, because we're paying an attorney and we're not doing a whole lot there for the historical concept, it was pointed out, we are the harbor of the air since 1926. By the way, the sister of the guy who came up with that slogan is still alive and well. How many of you realize that the founder of what became TWA lived on Beach Street? You should know that. Some of you have been sitting in those chairs for 8, 10, 12 years, should have read up on it. You know what? There's so much history in this community about aerospace that this should have been a grand moment to showcase it to the world right here. And I'll bet you 10 to 1, any of the speeches that happen will be about one person, one who's living somewhere close to our community. I think we all know who that is. Rather than celebrating the richness of the history of some of those businesses that created this community and gave the world a gift beyond compare. And now we're willing to sell it short so we can be the doormat for an industry that forgot about us.
Hello, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, staff, my Inglewood residents. My name is Wayne Spencer. I'm a businessman and a resident here since October 5th, 1973. For me, the space shuttle coming through Inglewood is really one of the greatest, most momentous events of my life. And why is that? I went to college in Inglewood. I went to Northrop University, got my degree in aerospace maintenance engineering technology. When I came here to Northrop, this was still like a bedroom type community, you know. Remember, they had mothers in Arborvitae. But I learned a little history about aviation while I was here at Northrop. We had an aviation museum given to us by Jack Northrop on Arborvitae. The building is still there, close to the rental-car companies, you know. We had an extensive collection in there. On campus, we had hangars. We have, we still have the test cells over there. But the law school was, North University Law School was, it was a big wooden hangar there. One of the things that we're doing here in Inglewood at the time was that they were trying to, the races were still on for the human-powered aircraft. And Northrop University was one of the leading edge schools in trying to put the person in that aircraft. I was a world-class cyclist. They wouldn't give me a chance because they figured I was too big. But you know what? That little Marine in there trying to pump that thing up, and I knew I had more horsepower than he did no matter how tall I was. But we had this beautiful, elegant aircraft that we had built out of what they call dope and fabric. And that thing flew right in the parking lot. Little hops here and there, you know? But that's just part of the wonderful history. Then I'm told Arborvitae used to be a runway for LAX. And then you got a history that LAX really belonged to the city of Inglewood initially before it was sold off for a few pennies to the city of LA. You know, but Northrop University was a great deal for me. I remember our class built those first hang gliders. You know when you go down by the bike path and you see these guys jumping off the cliffs? We had these little things, these Clico fasteners, and we built our tools in the shop at Northrop. And so we built these hang gliders, and we sold them to supplement our income. But I would never jump off the cliff with the hang gliders. But these kids, they bought them, and they jump off the cliff. And I couldn't believe these things were actually flying. But we made our monies. But that came out of Northrop University. Just little histories like that just slips through the cracks that we never think of, you know? Jack Northrop, he built that first Delta Wing bomber. Now we have the B-2 bomber. And it just goes on and on and on, the great histories that we have here. So that's just my 10 cents in the clouds. I just want to share that with y'all. And I look forward to a great event on Saturday. Thank you.
Okay, closed public comments. Council comments, Mr. Stevens?
Yes, Mr. Fields, we have an issue here. As you heard, the resident from my district, her first name was Michelle, she addressed the issue of exiting out of the Morningside Park area behind Inglewood Park Cemetery. I know you're new to our city, but at Florence and Victoria Avenue, which is the only exit that will be made available to the residents of that area on Saturday when the shuttle is being moved, at that intersection of Florence and Victoria, that is actually Los Angeles. Inglewood does not actually come into play until you're about, I guess about 4 blocks up going south. So what I would like to ask you is if you could contact the city of Los Angeles, or if it is possible for us to have our own traffic officer at that exit, because that is a blind corner. You have a multi-unit apartment building on the west, and you have another one on the right with a huge wall. It's a wall that stands about 6 feet with ivy growing over the top of it. You cannot see oncoming traffic easily from that intersection, and I doubt very seriously if anyone's going to allow people to exit out of there, because it's probably going to be a situation where traffic will actually be going all the way to Crenshaw and turn. You know, I just had a thought. What does belong to Inglewood is West Boulevard and Florence. That is the boundary for Inglewood. What if we were to simply divert traffic at Florence and West Boulevard north onto West Boulevard? Then that would allow that intersection to be totally clear, and then the residents could exit there, make a left. Then they too would go up to West Boulevard, and they could make a right. As it stands now, by the information that's on the sheet, it's basically just identified that that's going to be the only route out exiting there. So would that be possible for us to do? Just simply have our SEOs to station themselves at West Boulevard and Florence, ensure that no traffic progresses past West Boulevard, and then that would automatically allow that intersection to be kept clear, even though it's 3 blocks.
I'll check with our traffic division tomorrow and see if that's possible.
Well, we would be in control of it then, because
Right,
see, that's
exactly.
Inglewood.
Right.
You see, that's Inglewood, so we would be in control. You see, rather than Los Angeles being able to tell us maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't.
Okay.
And that might be a better way to go about it. Now, in reference to this entire shuttle situation, Mr. Fields and colleagues, if you remember when Ms. Mawusi gave her presentation about a month or so ago, I made the suggestion that we move to the forum, but what more important than that was that the mayor stifled my comments for us to even participate. He actually took over the entire project, Mr. Fields and colleagues. And so I say that to say is that this meeting this evening has been one of sharing of ideas. It's been very positive. Mayor Pro Tem, I commend you on your
Thank you, Mr.
conducting of this meeting. It's been very positive. But I must remind us all is that what happened was the mayor Butts.
And Mr. Stevens,
yes.
we're on additional time already.
Oh, we are. That's why I like you chairing these meetings. Okay, all right. I'm gonna curtail it. I'm gonna close it up. I just like to say this to everyone is that we're gonna hopefully work through this. I will not be participating. I will take advantage of my dignitary slots, but as a protest to how this was handled, I will not be in attendance at the event. But that does not mean that I'm going to relinquish my seats. Okay, I'm going to assign them to various individuals who I respect and who have played a part in my community. So I'm going to conclude with that, Mayor Pro Tem, and I like to say to everyone, drive home safely, and we'll see you next Tuesday night. And please call us if we can be of any assistance to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dunlap?
Yes, thank you. Actually, when I conclude my remarks, I'd like it repeated again with regard to the time frame that residents can visit the space shuttle at the La Tierra Sepulveda. I'm going to repeat that because it's going to be there for 9 hours. That might actually be one of the better viewing locations. So please, when I'm finished, put out the time again and the day that it will be there. Let's see, what was I going to say? Well, I will be there on Saturday. And I look forward to it. I do want these kinks worked out with regard to shuttle service, whether it's for disabled people who want to go from Hollywood Park, just visitors, or whether it's people coming from City Hall. Something has to be coordinated because traffic in that area will be a nightmare. I would like to state that a gentleman whom I have the privilege of having breakfast with on a regular basis, because we eat in a neighborhood restaurant in the 2nd District, Mr. Levi Thornhill, who is the holder of a Congressional Gold Medal. He's a Tuskegee Airman. He was a mechanic. Actually informed me today when I was discussing with him the shuttle coming through, if he was going to be there. He's in his early 90s, of course. And he said, well, Judy, he says, I worked on the space shuttle. He says, we were brought in as consultants many years ago with regard to the systems to work out some kinks. And anyway, it's just a pleasure. You never know who you're rubbing elbows with. I mean, fascinating people, fascinating history, fascinating experiences. So anyway, it's just, we just have some wonderful people in this city. And I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I want to thank everyone for coming out. Clearly want to make sure that we concentrate on the issues before the city. I do raise a concern regarding the counterproductive comments that were occurring between my colleague and the staff, and hopefully we can iron out that, because that's one, is a black eye to the city, and two, we're not getting things accomplished, at least publicly, and things like that should be addressed internally, I believe. I want to thank the residents of District 4 for bringing to my attention. Many of us are still on the bandwagon fighting to keep the post office open on Imperial and Crenshaw, and a new item has come to my attention, and that thanks to the residents who patronize on a regular basis, it turned out that we were dealing with voter suppression. They actually had a notice posted in the post office removing all applications to vote for voter registration. And because it was a federal matter, I was able to reach out to Congresswoman Maxine Waters' office, and she too had received a number of complaints throughout the postal services of the applications for voter registration had been removed. And so through her efforts and her staff, we was able to get that restored. And so these little nuances do happen, and it has a direct impact on making sure that on November 6th we get people registered to vote by October 22nd, as the city clerk said, but more importantly that we make sure that once you're registered that we assert ourselves, take one, teach one, to get them to the polls. And that note, I'd like the Mayor Pro Tem to please close the meeting in honor of Bourbon Donnelly. He has passed away. He was a state legislator or lieutenant governor, actual friend of the city of Inglewood, and a personal friend of mine, and he will be dearly missed. And on that note, good night.
Thank you. First, real briefly, Ms. Watson, Sepulveda and La Tijera, can you clarify the time frame? The day.
4:15 a.m. Friday, October 12th. It'll be there from that time for 9 hours.
Okay, thank you. Next clarification I want to make, this gentleman asked about the viewing area here at City Hall. That will take place at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning, and it will, am I incorrect?
No.
Right, as it's traveling through, however, it has been designated around that time frame. But what I did want to point out is the area that's available for standing, sitting. I'm sure you can bring your beach chairs out or whatever, right? On the south lawn here at City Hall, as well as Gravilla Park and inside up to 20 feet from Manchester. However, I did ask that it get even further south on Gravilla. Hopefully we can close most of it so that if it does become a viewing area, that people are more comfortable with that. And then real briefly, Mr. Saunders did advise me that the EIR comments for the city of Inglewood will be mailed to them, will be delivered to them tomorrow from our attorney, which the city of Inglewood hired. So we're definitely on the ball in terms of responding to that particular report. With that, I want to thank everybody for coming out, and thank my colleagues for appointing me Mayor Pro Tem, and hope to see you on Saturday morning. And we will close in memory of Mr. Mervyn Dimley, Lieutenant Governor and State Legislator, and definitely a good friend of the city of Inglewood.
And Congressman.
And Congressman. Thank you.